ya Butula ambayo ilinunuliwa na shule ya msingi ya Bukati kupitia usaidizi wa kanisa la Novel United Canada. Naye mbunge wa Kasipul Charles Ongondo Were atauliza waziri wa mazingira na misitu iwapo anafahamu kwamba kampuni moja ya ujenzi ya Uchina katika eneo bunge la Kasipul inasababisha kufoka vumbi katika vijiji vya Akech na Katanga ambayo ni hatari kwa afya ya umma. Na mbunge wa kaunti ya Kwale Zuleika Juma Hassan atauliza waziri wa uchukuzi, muundo msingi, nyumba, ustawi wa miji na ujenzi kuelezea hali iliyopelekea kuhamishwa kwa wakazi wanaoishi katika ardhi iliyoko karibu na uwanja wa ndege wa Ukunda na halmashauri ya usimamizi wa viwanja vya ndege humu nchini katika wadi ya Ukunda. Hatimaye mbunge wa Starehe Charles Njagwa Kanyi atauliza waziri wa ugatuzi kuelezea mpango wa wizara hiyo ya kuhakikisha kuna chakula cha kutosha cha msaada ambacho kinaweza kutolewa wakati wa dharura na ukame. Unaendelea kusikiliza KBC Radio Taifa huku ukitazama runinga ya KBC Channel 1 na tunakuletea matangazo ya moja kwa moja kutoka bunge la taifa, ikiwa ni kikao cha siku ya Alhamisi asubuhi, na naibu spika Moses Cheboi tayari amechukua nafasi yake katika ukumbi wa bunge la taifa akisubiri idadi ya kutosha wabunge kutimizwa. Kumbuka ni wabunge 50 wanaohitajika katika ukumbi wa bunge la taifa kati ya wabunge wote 349 wa bunge la 12 ili kikao kiweze kuanzishwa rasmi kuambatana na kanuni za bunge la taifa. Ni dakika 8 baada ya saa 4 kumradhi, saa zetu za kanda ya Afrika Mashariki. Kumbuka matangazo haya yatakujia hadi mwendo wa saa 6 leo adhuhuri, ambapo tutakurejesha katika studio yetu ya zamu. Ufurahie vipindi vyetu na pia usikilize taarifa ya saa 7 kabla ya kurejea tena hapa mwendo wa saa 8:30 kuendelea na vikao vya bunge. Hoja ya kwanza iliyoratibishwa kwenye kikao cha leo ni ya mbunge wa Maragwa Mary wa Maua na inahusu kuzinduliwa vituo vya kuhifadhia.
Naona kwamba sasa tuko na
za usajili wa
wajumbe wa kutosha na tutaanza kazi yetu ya siku ya leo. Na wajumbe tunawauliza sana kuangalia kanuni zenu za kudumu. Toleo la 5 mtaitumia leo sana. You are encouraged to speak the national language. Okay.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
What is it, honorable member, for? Oh, that must be Honorable Njagagwa.
Bwana Speaker, naomba kujua kama leo tulikubaliana ni tutakuwa tunaongea kwa lugha ya Kiswahili, na nasikia ndani ya bunge ndio tulikubaliana na wengine wanaendelea kuongea Kiswahili Kisungu. Kwa hivyo ningekuomba hiyo ni hoja nidhamu, nijue kama hiyo ndio lugha sanifu ya leo yenye tunaongea ni Kiswahili ama ni Kisungu, Bwana Speaker.
Now let me speak in English myself, because I know I can easily communicate to you better, Honorable Njagagwa, now that I know your history and myself are intertwined somewhere. Now, you are highly encouraged to speak the national language of Kiswahili. But it can't be a must, because our standing orders have not been changed to specifically state that. So this being a house of order and rules, as I've said, you are highly encouraged. And the Speaker will be very inclined to give members an opportunity, those who are willing to speak in Kiswahili, like, for example, the member for Keses, Honorable Mishra. We would be happy to give them an opportunity. You know, those people who are willing to speak in Kiswahili, because we also have to start, adopting the systems that we create for ourselves. We cannot be having a Kiswahili standing order and have encouraged that we should speak in Kiswahili, and, so that is what we are going to do. But, of course, as I've said, it's not a must, but we will encourage and give opportunity to members who want to speak in Kiswahili. So proceed.
Order number 4.
Order. What is it, Honorable Mishra? You are out of order. You are completely out of order. There are only two languages that will be allowed in this house, and that is going to be English and Kiswahili. Nandi is not one of them. Well, then you will change the standing orders that time, but not now. The standing orders are clear, Kiswahili or English. Let's proceed. What is it, Honorable Mwambire?
Bwana Spika, ninashangaa ndani ya bunge kuna viti vya kutosha, lakini nimeona mtu sijui kama ni mmoja wetu ama ni aje amekaa kwa sakafu. Kwa hivyo ningetaka kujua kama ni sawa mheshimiwa aje ndani ya bunge na akae kwa sakafu badala ya kiti.
Now, what you need to do, Honorable Mwambire, you need to specify. Because from where I sit, I can't see anybody sitting where you have just stated that he's sitting.
Bwana Spika, yule alikuwa amekaa kwenye sakafu, kwa sasa amekaa kwenye kiti, alikuwa amekaa karibu na pale mheshimiwa Mishra yuko, na nikawa na hofia huenda ikawa pengine kumeanza uongozi wa kidhalimu wa kwamba wengine wapigishwe magoti ndani ya bunge.
Of course that will be completely out of order, but looking at where you have stood, Honorable Mwambire, and you are able to pick it with your, then it must have, but unfortunately I didn't pick it at that particular point. I would have acted accordingly. So let's proceed, honorable members. Let's proceed.
Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Halima Musheke. Honorable Halima Musheke, is he in the house? This will be deferred. This one will be deferred to the next sitting. So let's proceed.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
On this particular order, honorable members, we have a series of questions. We will start with the honorable member for Nyeri, Honorable Rahab Mukami. Unataka kuongea kwa kilugha ya Kiswahili or you'll proceed in English? Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have one question regarding Kenya Airways. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the benefits realized by the government and Kenya Airways following the head of the Public Services Directive that all public officials travel using Kenya Airways, noting that the airline continued to charge exorbitant airfares on local and international flights and offer unreliable services, including perpetual delays and scheduling of flights? What measures are in place to address the continued financial losses and trade disputes experienced by the national carrier that compels the government to continuously bail out the airline? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Then we go to the member for cases. And remember the languages that you are asked that you can only communicate in. Can be only English and Kiswahili. You can try Kiswahili, Honorable.
You know, Excellency, Speaker Sir, you are right. But, you know, politics needs no language. And governance, it is the understanding.
Well, so, let's stop there, Honorable Mishra, before I allow you to proceed. Okay. You know, you are talking about politics, and we are not doing politics here.
No, I'm just
we are basically debating in the chamber.
Thank you, sir.
Now, elsewhere you can do that. But what is it that you wanted to? Maybe I cut you short too soon.
So I don't know.
Maybe the best way forward, the honorable member for cases.
Yes, sir.
Ask the question first.
Okay.
Then we can go to those other issues later.
Thank you, Speaker, sir. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask the question number 259 of 2020 in today's order paper, and it is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry. 1. What plans are in place to lift the ban on logging in our forest for pre-qualified sawmillers to harvest mature plantations, thus cushioning them from the lenders and effects of the COVID-19 pandemic? 2. Could the Cabinet Secretary undertake to allow pre-qualified and registered sawmillers to work for 7 days in a week, unlike the current situation of 5 days? And by when further could be the Cabinet Secretary grant sawmillers a 5-year term to harvest what they had been allocated to sort out the liabilities incurred during the ban? 3. What measures are in place by the Ministry inquire in allocation of forest materials to registered and pre-qualified sawmillers, which clear plan to stakeholders on tree planning schedules, and further linking together the activities of community-based groups, NGOs, and both national and county government? Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment, Natural Resources.
Okay.
So we'll go to the next member. That's the member for Sirisia. Yes, proceed and ask your question.
Yeah, I rise to ask question number 340 of 2020. The Cabinet, to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. When will the ministry demarcate the administrative boundary for Changara location in Western Region and placing it in appropriate county, noting that current map does not reflect the description contained in the District and Provinces Act of 1992. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Then we go to the next member. That's the member for Nyando, Honorable Jared Okelo.
Shukran sana Bwana Spika. Huenda nitaomba radhi kwa sababu swali langu limeweza kuchapishwa kwa lugha ya Kimombo. Sasa nitalisoma jinsi ilivyo.
Well, on that note, we will be asking the relevant officers.
Yes.
Members should be, should be making their preference known. And should you be interested in asking a question in Swahili,
Yeah.
it will be put in Kiswahili in your order paper, and therefore you'll be able to ask. But that's a good, that's a good opinion and option you have given. Thank you. Proceed.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Mimi ni mmoja wale ambao ni magwiji kwa lugha ya Kiswahili hapa. And my question my question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the plans in place to rehabilitate the dilapidated roads in Nyando constituency that have been rendered impassable because of frequent floods, despite a budgetary allocation of 5 billion Kenya shillings for rehabilitation of roads destroyed by floods across the country? Question number 2, and the last one, Mr. Speaker. When is the ministry expected to commence rehabilitation of the roads in Nyando constituency? I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Shukran.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Committee on Transport, Public Works, and Housing. So we go to the member for Butula, Honorable Maero Oyula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for granting me this opportunity. I rise to ask question number 346 of 2020, and this question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical Planning. What is the status of ownership of land parcel LR number Marachi Elohari 752, situated in Butla Sub-County, which was acquired by Bukati Primary School through the support of Novel United Church from Canada? Could the Cabinet Secretary consider taking appropriate intervention to ensure that the land is secured from land brokers who have coerced the seller to disown the initial sale sale agreement to Bukati Primary School for purpose of grabbing and resell to a second buyer. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of schools that have been granted title deeds for the land on which they are built on in Butla sub-county? What measures has the ministry put in place to ensure that all schools across the country have title deeds? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Lands. Then we go to Member for Kasipul Constituency, Honorable Charles Ongondo Were.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to ask question number 347 directed to Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Natural Resources. Roman 1, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that China City Construction Company in Kasipul constituency emits toxic dust which is blown to Akech and Katanga village, causing health hazards? Roman 2, what action has the ministry taken against the said company, which has further blocked access to Awachi River, which is the main source of water, and dumping hazardous materials on the access points? Roman 3, what steps is the ministry taking against the China City Construction Company from further polluting the environment and contaminating Awachi River in Akech and Katanga village? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. That will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. So we go to the next member, Honorable Zuleika Hassan, member for Kwale County.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa nafasi hii, na pia asante kwa kuzidi kutuelewesha kuhusu maswali haya, na kuwa siku zijazo tunaweza kuuliza kwa Kiswahili na ikatambulika kwa lugha hiyo. Kwa hivyo kwa leo vile imeandikwa kwa Kiingereza nitaendelea kuuliza kwa Kiingereza. Mr. Speaker, I stand to ask question 354/2020 to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the status and circumstances that led to the evictions of the residents living on the land around Ukunda Airport by the Kenya Airports Authority? Number 2, why is the Kenya Airports Authority insisting on building a perimeter wall before compensating residents of Mkwakwani village in Ukunda Ward, Msambweni constituency, who hold title deeds and have already agreed to the relocation? 3, when will the Kenya Airports Authority and the National Land Commission compensate residents with regard to their land and properties acquired for the expansion of Ukunda Airport? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That one will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Then we go to the member for Starehe, Honorable Njagwa Kanyi. Honorable Kanyi. That question is deferred. So we then go to the second segment of this particular order, that is the request for statements. But Honorable Koinange, you had something you wanted to say, I can see.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, I wish to address the following to the House in regard to questions. Honorable Speaker, on Wednesday, 25th November 2020, the following questions came up for reply by the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. 1, question number 256 of 2020 by Honorable Robert Mbui. 2, question number 194, 2020 by Honorable Gadicha Gufu. 3, question number 250, 2020 by Honorable Alfred Agoi. 4, question number 301-2020 by Honorable Caleb Kositani. 5th, question number 297-2020 by Honorable Joseph Kabebea. And 6th, question number 304-2020 by Honorable Benjamin Tayari. And 7, question by private notice number 2024-2020 by Honorable Sylvanus Maritim. And finally, Honorable Speaker, question number 328-2020 by Honorable Faith Gitau. Honorable Speaker, it is regretted that the committee had no choice but to drop all these questions in line with the provision of Standing Order 442C in bracket 5, after members who raised them were absent without the committee chairperson permission, and nobody communicated with me, Honorable Speaker. The House puts in a lot of effort, time and resources processing members' questions for reply by cabinet secretaries, ministries. On the other hand, also put in a lot of effort, time and resources preparing replies to members' questions. When members don't appear before committees, Honorable Speaker, for replies to the questions, all efforts, time and resources put in by the House and ministries go to waste. On behalf of the committee, Departmental Committee, Administration, National Security, Honorable Speaker, this is to appeal to all members raising questions before committees of the House to ensure they appear before the replies. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Now, the challenge I'm having, first of all, that is a very legitimate concern. And the reason why I gave you a lot of time, because you are standing on a point of order, is because I thought this is a matter that should be dispensed with right now. First, members have always complained that chairs sometimes take too long and committees take too long in responding to questions. Now, it becomes a bit difficult when it is the members themselves who do not avail themselves to, pursue their questions at the committee level. What I'm trying to grapple with, Honorable Koinange, is whether it was right for you to drop the questions. Because what I think should have happened is for you to report to the House, and the members, of course, will be, we would be able to know how to handle that matter, and probably, but it makes sense. I mean, if the members ask questions and they do not appear, it becomes difficult for it to be processed. I see some of those members who are mentioned here in the House, in the chamber. I would really be very curious to know what is likely to have happened. And even if there are going to be very good reason they had for not attending, it would have been better if that was communicated to the committee at that point, so that you do not have the cabinet secretary coming to the committee and you are not able to be present to ask the question. Another thing that I think we'll be grappling with, and we would like to send that one to the relevant committee on House rules, is whether once the member asks a particular question, it is still his question. Because at that point, it probably is a question and a property of the House. So probably then proceed and answer, even in absence of the member. But really, in terms of the tidiness, it would be good when the member is there, or at the very worst, his representative. So I see, let me start with Honorable, this is something that I think we need to really look at. So we'll start with Honorable Wangwe before I come to some members who...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to add my voice on that issue raised by Honorable Koinange. That indeed, as per what you just said, although it's not yet concluded, but I feel once a member presents a question on the floor, it no longer becomes a member's concern, but a House concern. In my view, Honorable Speaker, and in attending to generally a course of natural justice, Honorable Speaker, I would feel that chairs should not drop questions. Instead, they should either have an alternative to transmit the written reply without necessarily having the member to interrogate the question, so that let other members, because a member could raise an issue affecting a particular area, but it's also touching entirely on the concern of other Kenyans. Therefore, once we get a written form of reply, Honorable Speaker, I feel it will serve the purpose rather than dropping the question at the committee stage, so committee level, so that let other members have the benefit of listening and getting to know what the member has been answered. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay. But as we continue to do that, we should be looking at the relevant standing order, which is 42C5. Honorable members, because this is something that we changed somewhere. I was grappling before as to whether the chair has the power. But it's very clear that, and let me read it, members, for record, so that you can, even as we debate, we are able to, to internalize what is in the standing orders. That particular standing order reads, where the member who raised a question referred to the committee is absent without the chairperson's permission, the question shall be dropped, and no further proceedings shall be allowed on the question during the same session. That is our standing order as honorable members. So even as we proceed to debate, I think the chair was absolutely right. Yeah, to drop them. But let's hear from Honorable Chachu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I truly appreciate the position of the chairman of the Interior and Security Committee. And it's a very genuine concern. And the standing order 42, Mr. Speaker, is very clear. But what we have done in other committees is that we table the answer so that the member is able to at least have the information later on. It's not discussed in the committee, it's just tabled. And the member can always access the answer from Secretariat or from the clerk's office. That's what we have been doing in other committees.
Okay.
But the standing order is very, very clear. But Mr. Speaker, also honestly, we really have to appreciate that there are times when the members can just not make it. For instance, I can tell you, Honorable Kalicha of Moyale, that day we lost our county secretary in Marsabit, and he had to fly within a fraction of a second and to attend that burial. And in our county, or in our region, we bury people right on the spot, whether you're a Christian like me or a Muslim. So there are these extraordinary circumstances, which also sometimes members of parliament have to face too. So let's be pragmatic as we deal with this issue. I appreciate it.
But you see, the standing order gives you the leeway to simply talk to the chair of the committee. It is as easy as that, because really the circumstances arise that probably you are not able to attend. It happens all over, but it's also good to communicate. Because otherwise, the chair would be waiting for you in the committee room, expecting you to come and pursue your question, and you are not available to do that. So what is it, Honorable Murugara, what have you to say on this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm going to give a few members, because this is a real serious issue.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have had the occasion to attend several committee meetings with questions, and what happens is really I'm made to read out the question, then I get a written response that is read by the relevant government officer, then later on I get a copy of that response. I think that is a very tidy way of doing things, in spite of the fact that our standing orders have a different provision. And I think we need to look at it to see whether we can amend it and come up with a better way of getting these answers. Because what is the purpose of dropping a question that has a written answer? Really, the correct thing is to give the member the written answer, although when he is absent, he misses the occasion to ask supplementary questions. The good thing about being present is if the answer is not sufficient, you have the time to ask supplementary questions and you get supplementary answers.
Okay. Let's hear from one of the chairs of committees. Probably they have the same issue. Honorable Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I agree with what Honorable Koinanga said, but at the same time, I think we need to look at the standing orders and make amendments so that instead of dropping the question, we table the answer, and as my colleague has said, you lose the benefit of asking a supplementary question. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, we would also request the clerks who are clerking the departmental committees so that they remind members. You know, members could be within the parliament, but they'll have forgotten that this particular day, the CS is coming to reply, because the leader majority or the whip, majority whip normally tells us on Thursday when the cabinet secretaries are coming to reply. But you see, the way we are busy, we can easily forget. So we urge that the clerks, maybe a day before or first thing in the morning, that day the CS is coming, members are reminded that their questions will be answered.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Mbui.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my observation is that once members raise questions on the floor, these questions are taken to the CS, and then I think the ministry grapples with the solution and then presents it on the day that the member is invited. And like my colleagues have said, the responses are normally in written form. So I think maybe, as we have members have said, maybe the idea would be to look at the standing orders to see how we can amend it so that we don't drop the question. But Mr. Speaker, like I was supposed to appear in that committee yesterday morning. In fact, I got the schedule on time, and I knew I was going to be the first person at 10 a.m. to actually have a response to one of my questions, which was very important to me. But something even more important happened. I got an invitation in the morning to go and attend the signature launch for BBI, invited by His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and my party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. So I had to go. So, Mr. Speaker, I did actually communicate with the Speaker, with the Chair, and inform him that unfortunately something has come up. So I don't know, how do you handle situations where it is just last minute and it is also important business of the House? Thank you, Chair.
That is a very interesting one raised by, you know, that's an admission that you actually did not attend and without any, no, but let me get one. I'm trying to see any other member who probably did not, no, I will give this other side. And probably, I'm trying to look for a member. I feel that I've given quite a number of members to my. So let me see a member who has not spoken this morning. Honorable Sosion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Any question asked in this House does not belong to a member of Parliament. There are questions of national importance touching on citizenship. And merely dropping it because a member who has a question is not in the House is really not fair representation. We must endeavor to expand our democratic space in terms of representation. There are situations where circumstances beyond control, members of Parliament may not be in the House. Of course, one aspect is yesterday's launch of the signatures, which most of us attended and could not even attend some committee meetings. And if parliamentary proceedings were on, some of us were not going to attend. Those are equally important national activities. And therefore, we should elevate our standing orders so that we sustain those questions to its logical conclusion, that if questions are asked and the members of Parliament who table those questions may not be, should be given a chance to respond to when they're available in the House. If we did that, I am sure we'll be doing justice and we'll be strengthening the representation of the people through this House. Honorable Speaker, I think it is fair to sustain these questions in the best interest of the people.
Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I happen to be one of the people whose question has actually taken long to be responded to. And unfortunately, at times when you get the invite, you are getting it through an SMS, and you are at that time you are not within Nairobi, you are even out of Nairobi. And therefore, I think it is important that it is not just a question, we should, and I'm a member also of the House and Procedural, so I think we need to make an amendment to that, Standing Order 42C5, in terms of, it should not just be that he's dropping and that ends the issue, because we should also make the chairs and the committees not to be unfair to the members who have asked the questions, but to be upon them to be able to make sure that the members' question is responded to. Because when we ask these questions, we are not asking them in vain. We are asking them because of a certain circumstance, which you expect that at the end of the day, this issue which you've asked must be addressed. And most of the issues we raise here, Honorable Speaker, are key issues that are affecting our constituents, and it's part of our constitutional mandate as representatives of our people.
Okay.
So I think we need to balance both of it.
Now I've heard all of you, honorable members, many times. Chairs have been accused of being slow. I've said that before. And the committees also have been accused of sleeping on the job. Now, this is a different scenario where the members have not appeared to ask the questions. Not really to ask the questions, to participate in the proceedings of having the question answered. Now, the standing order is in black and white. The committees, through their chair, have a right to drop the questions. Now, it is up to you members, if you really want to change, there are many modes of changing the standing orders. It could be through the relevant committee, that is the Procedure and House Rules Committee, or you can do it also suo moto, on your own motion, as a member. You have a right. If you feel this is a standing order that is not very helpful to yourselves, you have a right to proceed and change it. But you must take the issue of questions very seriously. When you ask a question and you've said rightly that these are important questions, it's also important that you avail your time to be there. And by the way, this is not a very rigid standing order. If you talk to the committee chair, it is as simple as that. They can be able to reschedule for another time. But it is not encouraged that we keep rescheduling questions. Because remember, it is not just the committee issue. It is also about other parties from outside Parliament, including the cabinet secretaries, CSS or PSS. So sometimes it is something that goes beyond even the ability of the chairman to be able to be as magnanimous and help you. There are other parties who are involved. So members, let's take our questions very seriously and let's appear when the questions are being answered. I think that is the bottom line. But of course, as you members have clearly stated, the chairs, as much as possible, also can afford to be flexible in specific circumstances. But remember, it is the members who say the chairs are not working very hard. So when the chairs are working very hard, like Honorable Koinange now was able to marshal maybe either a CS or a PS to come and answer some of these questions, and the members are not available, it does not show seriousness on part of members. So henceforth, let's take these particular question sessions very seriously. Let's proceed to the, we are now going to statements, and we have one by the member for Konoin, Honorable Brighton Yegon.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to request a statement regarding intended redundancy of employees at the tea subsector. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I seek to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the redundancy of employees in the tea industry, in particular employees in Finlay's Tea Company. Honorable Speaker, more than 700 employees at the Kericho-based James Finlay Tea Company will lose their jobs by end of the year due to redundancy. The tea company delivered the devastating news to the employees on Friday via company notice dated 19th November 2020. And has indicated that the redundancy will be effective from December 31st, 2020. This redundancy will adversely affect the direct incomes of employees and indirect earnings of those who have been depending on this sector. It is of great concern that most of the employees affected had loans from the financial institutions and further were paying loans as guarantors to defaulters who were laid off during earlier dates from the same company. Honorable Speaker, it is on this background that I seek for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare of the following. What measures is the government undertaking to ensure that the looming redundancy, which is about to be carried out, is altered, and what interventions will be taken to improve business environment caused by the, among others, low tea price, low demand for various products, and increased external cost? State whether James Finlay, Kenya, has notified the respective unions on the unionizable employees or the individual employees who are not members of trade unions or are otherwise ununionizable, and the labor officer as required under section 41 stroke 1 of the Employment Act of 2007 of the reasons for and the extent of the intended redundancy. Number 3, could the chairperson provide detailed audited accounts of James Finlay Kenya Limited for the preceding 3 years, showing its revenues and expenditures to ascertain whether there is indeed any significant drop in its revenues to warrant any employees post-redundancy? And number 7, what measures has the government put in place to ensure that persons affected during the redundancy, if it will be carried out, will be conducted in full compliance with the applicable collective bargaining agreement and the laws, terms and conditions of employment, and that employees will receive their full terminal dues? I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I signed it on 24/11/2020. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
That is to the Committee on Agriculture, isn't it? Oh, Labor, sorry. Committee on Labor. This is a matter of agriculture, but going to Committee of Labor because they have labor issues. Now, the Chair of Labor is in the House. Yes, let's have from Honorable Sankok, who is one of the active members of that particular committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
How long do you think you can be able to transact this and give a reply to the Honorable Brighton?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And speaking on behalf, Honorable Speaker, on speaking on behalf of my chair, Honorable Moade, who is an oasis of wisdom, we will be able to respond to him within 3 weeks, because this matter is very urgent. We know, yeah, we will. Honorable Speaker.
I'm listening to you, Honorable Sankok.
Yes, you know, I'm being distracted. We'll be able to call the parties within 3 weeks and be able to table the report in the floor of the House by February when we come back from the recess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, can you try to make it a little faster? Of course, I understand, you know, the situation that it's not very easy to marshal everybody to come around. But can you try it earlier if it is possible?
Let me consult with the chair.
Yes.
Probably as early as next week, Tuesday, we'll be having a sitting, and probably on Thursday, then we'll have at least somewhere we can start.
Okay. Brighton, Honorable Brighton, what is it? You've heard what the committee has said.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and considering this a contemporary issue, and considering the deadlines that have been put in place, they are supposed to go in December 31st. I would be glad if we handle this issue before we proceed on recess, so that we can be able to sort out the issues at hand.
Okay, I'm sure the committee is hearing. Let's see how quick they can. You said, Honorable Sankok, you want to consult. You consult with also the fact that you know there are deadlines in this particular issue, and see how quick we can be able to move. But what is it, Honorable Dr. Pukose? That I think is settled.
Honorable Speaker, without anticipating members going on recess on 3rd of December, what Honorable Songoki is giving is actually unrealistic. I think he would better get his act together so that this matter is addressed with the seriousness it deserves.
But Honorable Sankoka said he will be consulting to see how quick they can do it. I think he has settled that one. So we can leave it at that. Let's go to the next order.
Order number 8, motion, establishment of database centers in all civil registration centers in the country.
Honorable members, on this particular one, we have a balance of 37 minutes. And the Honorable buyer had a balance of 1 minute. If he's in the House, he can take it. Ordinarily, Honorable buyer sits very close to the Speaker, but it seems he's not around. So we'll give the next member. Members are encouraged to speak the national language, and also are encouraged to make sure that their masks are on. Many times you see members bringing down their masks very close to other members and speaking, and therefore creating unnecessary risk. So we will start. Let me see. I see quite a number of members who want to speak. I do not know if this is an indication they want to speak on this particular one. And members, remember that any member who has spoken should not speak again on this particular one. So, what is it, Honorable Ochanda?
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to do a special request. It may not be really in terms of our standing orders, but given the amount of time we had, Honorable Speaker, between now and Thursday next week, and the kind of motions that are lined up, I'd wanted to do a request, maybe through you, Chair, that either we get a way of shortening the period of dealing with these motions on a request. I know it's, there are hours that are dedicated for this, so that we are able to dispense with the 4 motions that are in front of us by Thursday next week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It is possible, but honorable members, in terms of shortening, I do not know which shortening of the time. Are you talking about shortening of the speaking time or the time allocated to a motion?
I'm trying to request through the Speaker if you can indulge members to contribute to a little shorter time, so that we are able to dispense with all the motions by Thursday.
On this particular one, which we have 37 minutes to go, our hands are tied because it's already water under the bridge. You made the decision, and it's 5 minutes, I think.
That's true, Mr. Speaker.
So there should be no problem on this one. But should you want to shorten it in the other one, you do it at the beginning. That's what the standing order says. But what? Yes. So this is a resumption after interruption. We are doing it 5 minutes per member. Are you suggesting that you want to have them go lower than that? Well, 5 minutes for this one, since it's 37 minutes, I think we can do it. But in the next one, you can. I know you have the power when you start at the resumption to shorten the speaking time for members. But we have members can also be encouraged to speak less without having to be guarded by any restriction. Yes. So members, please give only few salient issues, and then you'll save time for the rest. Now I'm trying to look at the members who have not spoken. Honorable Tongi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset, I want to support this motion coming in timely, Honorable Speaker, considering the challenges our parents are facing when they're getting this very important document, the birth certificate back at home, and even in the entire country, Kenya. Honorable Speaker, we have heard of many cases where parents have been forced to even give a bribe so that they can get a very pesky document, which again influences and directs the lives of our children in many ways. Because for you to register for an exam, Mr. Speaker, both Standard 8 and the Form 4, and for that matter, any other exam at the national level, you need a birth certificate, Madam Honorable Speaker. And therefore, this requirement is a very, very critical requirement from the government. And the same government has not made it possible for parents to get this document without having to struggle the way they're struggling at the moment. So this idea of having a centralized, this idea of having harmonized registration of birth certificate, Mr. Speaker, I think would never have come in at a better time like it has come in now.
I've had cases in my constituency, Honorable Speaker, Kisii Central, where parents have been forced to even give a bribe just to get this document. And some parents have been kept waiting for years on end. I know one parent who came to see me to persuade me to go and stand in the gap for them, because their child was supposed to be registered, was sent away from school, and yet again they were not able to get this document from the government offices. It's important that as a government we also go out and, it's not just enough to set the rules, but we also find out how those rules are working. Because some of the officers given this task, the opportunity to serve our people, have not been very fair. And therefore, our parents have suffered, our Kenyans have suffered, and we all know the impact of losing that kind of time. Our people depend on on small businesses. When they are taken away from service, when they are taken away from their businesses, Madam Honorable Speaker, they are hurting because they are losing not just the time, but they're also losing their livelihood, their income, their businesses suffer, and all suffering on account of negligence on the part of an officer who has been given a privilege to serve Kenyans. Knowing how many people out there are unemployed, Honorable Speaker, it's only fair that people who have been given an opportunity to serve, they go an extra mile and serve our people without having to demand for bribes or asking for favors before they can serve our people. Honorable Speaker, many are the days gone when people used to think that a birth certificate is a luxury. I know during our days in school, a birth certificate would only be required when you're going to look for a passport. But nowadays it's required. It's a basic requirement which you need to submit at every stage of any government registration. We are hoping that by your registration, which was started by the government, we'll be able to address some of these challenges so that we don't have to have too many documents in our wallet. We don't have to carry so many of these. Should be carried in one folder where all the information about a person is given. All developed countries, Honorable Speaker, have succeeded because they have data of their members. They have data of their citizens. When you have data, you're able to establish, even for purposes of planning, you're able to know how many people you have, how many people are going to join from one, so that the government is able to plan ahead of time. How many people are going to join the university, so that we're able to plan ahead of time. How many are required, how many are qualified for national polytechnic, so that we're able to plan ahead of time. So without having to repeat what has been said by my colleagues, I want to take this opportunity to thank Honorable Wamaua for this creative, very, very innovative thinking, which has come to address the issues and the challenges our people are facing at the constituency level. And I'm sure it's the same thing all over the country, so that our parents, our Kenyans, will be able to be served in a more better way than having to go through the challenges they have had to suffer in the past. I support and I thank the Honourable Member for this great idea. Thank you. Honourable Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had not contributed on this particular motion. Mr. Speaker, I really want to thank Honourable Mary Wamaua for this particular motion, and it is very timely because we've just now passed the Huduma number regulations and the Huduma law is in place. So as far as registration is concerned in the country now, the law is ready and the systems are ready. But one thing is left. The administration, the way this is going to be administered. We have the law, we have the regulation, but now the people who are going to implement this law and this regulation. And that's why it is very important, Mr. Speaker, that we have, registries, and as many as possible, probably to go by sub-counties. Already we have Huduma centers. And the Huduma centers this is one area the Huduma number is going to be. And the Huduma number from the regulations is going to become the only number that person has. That number is going to be your ID, is going to be your birth certificate, is going to be a death certificate, is going to be a driving license, is going to be everything. And therefore, the moment that person is no more, that number remains, but becomes the death certificate. And I hope the implementation of that very good plan is going to be taken care of by the people employed by the country to do this particular matter, Mr. Speaker, because the moment we have all this in place, but the people serving are still delays and frustrating Kenyans, so that Kenyans can get frustrated and can give a bribe. I think, Mr. Speaker.
What is it, Honorable Sanko? What is it?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I respect my lawyer, who was my lawyer when I was in the University of Nairobi, Sonu Chama, but he's scaring us from the Huduma number. He's saying it will be a death certificate. Of course, I understand that that will be a driving license, a birth certificate, but when he mentioned the death certificate, so it means I may not be able to go and pick that Huduma number, please.
Well.
By the time you'll be picking, you will not be dead, definitely. But let's hear what.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, and you know, we must appreciate catchers, Mr. Speaker, but this particular number has been designed to be the birth certificate number, to be the ID number, to be the driving license number. When you punch the systems, that number will be produced. And a lot of questions were raised when we were making the regulations, and when we met PSK Bicho and his team from the Ministry of Interior about what the Honorable Sankok is concerned, Mr. Speaker. It reduces the work, because eventually, when we go, people are left behind have to process a death certificate if they have to do other things like succession.
When you go where?
Mr. Speaker, when all of us leave this world or die,
yes, I mean,
there will definitely be a death certificate.
You also seem to be as scared as Honorable Sanko, using colorful words like going, like, you know.
Yes.
So is either death or something else?
Mr. Speaker, even the best friend of God, Moses, had to die at some point. Moses of the Bible, not the Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, so this number is designed to take care of all these documents. And eventually that particular number remains with that person for eternity, so that there can never be another number, Mr. Speaker, which will be used. So I really want to appreciate the concerns of Honorable Sankok, but we can still change the law, we can still change the regulations. If Honorable Sankok brings a motion to that effect, and that certificate can be one of the documents which is not part of the Huduma number. And I want to agree, Mr. Speaker, this is going to make a big improvement. But the biggest worry is what Honorable Wamawa is worried about. Are we going to change the people who are handling this matter at the grassroots, Mr. Speaker? Are we really going to change? And that's what I think Honorable Kibicho and his team must concentrate on, so that we make sure that on ground it is effective, and a few individuals do not take it upon themselves to frustrate Kenyans when they are trying to acquire this very important number or registration papers. And we believe after some time, Mr. Speaker, is going to be harmonized so that every Kenyan is happy and is self-sufficient. It has been successful in other regimes, in other countries, and I believe it will be. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. So now I will give the chairperson of the relevant committee, that is Honorable Koinange. You know, when you are doing the limitation limitation debate on bills and motions and others, the committee are given priority, the committee chair, if they are not the one moving. So I'm now giving an opportunity to the chair.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also want to make a contribution on motion on the establishment of database centers in all civil registrations in the country. Honorable Speaker, Civil Registration Service is the government agency mandated to register all births and deaths occurring in Kenya and those of Kenyans occurring abroad. Birth registration is done for legal and statistical value. Honorable Speaker, civil registration is mandated by the Constitution and the law. In executing its mandate, the department implements the following articles of the Constitution. Article 14, citizenship by birth. A person is a citizen by birth if on the day of the person's birth, whether or not the person is born in Kenya, either the mother or father of the person is a citizen. Article 53, every child has the right to a name and nationality from birth. Honorable Speaker, Birth and Death Registration Act Cap 149 of the laws of Kenya provides for compulsory registration of birth and death immediately they occur. Honorable Speaker, it is regrettable that such a critical department of our national government is still housed in rented office, and it is of this reason for my committee, Administration National Security, which I head, decided to allocate funds to construct a permanent office for the department because of the documents that they have, which are security documents. Honorable Speaker, registration of birth and death in Kenya assumes a community-based system which is based on the fact that births and deaths occur in the community. The assistant chiefs are therefore responsible for registration of births and deaths that occur at home, while the medical personnel register births and deaths that occur in health facilities. Honorable Speaker, the registration service undertakes very critical role in our country, core among them being registration of birth and death occurring in Kenya, registration of birth and death of Kenyan citizens occurring outside Kenya, registration upon legitimization and recognition of a child, re-registration upon adoption, issuance of birth and death certificates, formulation, review, and implementation of policies, regulation, standards and strategies on birth and death registration, interpretation, administration, and enforcement of the Birth and Death Registration Act, Cap 149, and other related statutes, maintaining, securing, and keeping custody of birth and death records, capturing, collection, compilation, and analysis of vital statistics, birth and death data from civil registration, dissemination of vital statistical reports to relevant stakeholders, undertaking research and innovation in civil registration. Honorable Speaker, national statistical coverage rates for 2019 are birth 75.5%, death 38.8%. This is against the department's target of 100% coverage of registration of birth and death. Honorable Speaker, the department currently has 124 sub-county offices out of 334 sub-counties. The following counties have office, hence making it difficult to service the residents of these counties effectively: Isiolo, Mandera, Samburu, Turkana, West Pokot, Nairobi. Majority of the counties have at least 2 offices. Honorable Speaker, the department is unable to operationalize most sub-counties' offices due to low staffing level, low budgetary allocation. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, the department has digitized birth and death records up to September 2020. The department engaged 9,000 youth across the country to undertake the exercise. Honorable Speaker, though the department has digitized its records, the digitized records are not adding value due to lack of network connectivity in some counties' offices. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
That is okay, though, of course, you took advantage, Honorable Koinange, and stated all the issues about the registration, though this one was very specific, but you've done well on that one. So the Honorable Member, the Vice Chair, PIC there. You had been given on this other, the front seat you are seated on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senior.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, it is important to look at the distribution of these registration centers in the country. Indeed, it is sad to note that the distribution of these centers is not fairly done all over the country. And the criteria used by the department in establishing these offices is really wanting. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to you, my constituency is 300 kilometers from the county headquarters. I have three sub-counties in my constituency, and I have no registration center. Indeed, I paid a visit to the office to share this issue with them on numerous occasions. I'm shocked by the deaf ears the lady in charge of the department has given us on numerous occasions. Mr. Speaker, young children who did not attain this registration at their early age because of their pastoral way of life have moved or traveled 300 kilometers to the county headquarters to access this vital document. The cost incurred by these people is unbearable. The risk they are exposed to on numerous occasions while traveling to access this vital document is equally unbearable. Indeed, the criteria used in prioritizing the establishment of these offices is really wanted. I'm saying this because you will find that an officer is posted 30 or 40 kilometers away from another center, and yet 3 sub-counties, that is 300 kilometers from the next registration center, is yet to realize one. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with the chair of the committee, and indeed I have already put a question to that matter, that as we are speaking, we are exposing young Kenyans, school-going children Kenyans, to risk. God forbid, next time, we will hear a child traveling from Butte, Korondile, or Buna sub-counties in my constituency that were either attacked on their way to access this vital document or were exposed to other risks, because the situation of the roads is unbearable. Those areas have, they have clan conflict on numerous occasions. There is the tendency of attacking vehicles on their way to that area, at times even barricading of roads. And you will wonder, an officer cognizant of all these facts have blatantly decided not to post an officer in this area. Mr. Speaker, I can assure you that the county assembly members from my constituency, 5 of them traveled all the way from the constituency to Nairobi, and we had a meeting jointly to explain these new circumstances to the lady in charge of this department. The attitude displayed by this officer is totally unacceptable.
Now, you see, Honorable Member, you have been given an opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I will contribute. I'll conclude.
Okay, conclude.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to raise this because at times you will only get this opportunity to share the kind of unique difficulties you are facing in your constituency when you get similar motions on the floor of this House. You will be obliged to share with your colleagues the kind of difficulties you are undergoing only when motions of this kind arise.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Speaker, as I conclude,
at the 0 hour, you can have that.
Fair enough. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I strongly support this idea. Indeed, we must look at the distribution all over the country. Okay. Our prioritization and ranking must be done, and the unique challenge faced by the marginalized part of this country must be well considered, if at all we are reading from the same script. Thank you.
Honorable Muturi Kigano.
Sir, the matters that are canvassed by the motion are of vital importance to this country in terms of statistical planning, education, agriculture, health, and everything. They are in the center.
Honorable Nyamai, you have.
Honorable Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order, standing order number 87. I have listened to the honorable member who has just contributed to this motion, and he kept on mentioning, a woman, talking about a person being deaf, and casting aspersions on an individual who is not in this house, who I believe that is a government officer, Honorable Speaker. And we know that government officers who are working in such areas, whether they are from within those counties or from outside those counties, experience a lot of challenges. Is it in order, Honorable Speaker, for him to keep mentioning an individual, talking, and especially kept talking about a woman who is deaf and dumb? Is it really good, Honorable Speaker?
Well, what is the main point of quarrel? Is it the mention of the woman, the government officer who is being mentioned? Because he did not mention by name, and I didn't want to open this again because, well, in all fairness, the basic issue with the member was that he took it out. You know, this was a motion that is specific, but he ended up speaking about his constituency. That is, if you are the reason in the. But since he has already concluded, I don't think it is something that we should put a lot of time on it. Please, let's leave it, Honorable Member. We can leave it at that. You have already had your fair share of the ground. Well, he says he did not use the term a woman. That is something. Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there, because what I'm seeing is that we probably will be. What do you want? What is it then that you didn't say?
Mr. Speaker, for avoidance of doubt, I have not used the word woman at any one time. And for avoidance of doubt, this House has direct oversight role on any state officer, and indeed the chair before me has an oversight role as a departmental committee chair on day-to-day administrative.
That is okay now. We can leave that, and then Honorable Kigano, please proceed. I think we would be really going out of.
Mr. Speaker, I did not anticipate that this is a matter that can create some controversy. It covers both male and female and everybody in this country, because it is central in all our lives. In terms of, I don't know whether I have spoken clearly, and my brother who is trying to interrupt me has spoken 3 times. And I am saying that this matter concerns everybody in this country, whether woman, whether man, whether deaf, whether, everybody. So it's a matter that is central in our lives, because it covers statistical planning, in education, in agriculture, even where I sit as a chair. So, Mr. Chairman, I am happy, and I'm not speaking for the government. When I requested for a Huduma Center to cover all the matters that are anticipated by the motion, the Cabinet Secretary, who is a gracious lady and woman called Kobia, responded swiftly on the phone. She just told me, Mheshimiwa, get some premises or land. I am ready, more than ready, anytime. So I think the docket is now drawn to us. The borough is drawn to us that it is for us now, for my brother across the floor, to look for premises and call Kobia. What the response I got was that she was more than ready. She has always been ready to be approached by any member. The shortage that she had were premises. Whether rented, she was able to, in the case I'm talking of for my constituency, she has rented premises, which we pointed to her, and she was ready to staff. So I think the government also is appreciating through that gracious lady. Thank you.
Now, I'm a bit confused. Did you rise on a point of order, or you are contributing? Because if you are contributing, Honorable, of course, Honorable the honorable member for Kangema is a very senior member of both, I mean, at least at his professional level, he's a very senior member. So I was actually looking at it because I had given you an opportunity to contribute. But what you actually did is almost responded to, but which is okay. Actually, you only gave an overview of what is happening in your constituency. Yes.
Example of the response I got.
Okay.
It is also, when we are contributing, we also try to propagate any information that one has. So what I have informed the House is that it is not difficult to get this facility at constituency level. Right?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Honorable Muturi Kigano. You have made your point. So I will give the member for Igembe. And you have removed your card and you are top on the list. He left? Honorable Iringo? Honorable Iringo just left. So I will give one last member, then we will ask the mover to reply. And I'm trying to pick a member who has not spoken and who can be able to speak in Kiswahili. Now, I'm trying to get a member. Honorable Murugara, we will give you and you must speak in that language. I mean, it's not you must, you are encouraged. You are encouraged.
Thank you. Asante sana, Bwana Speaker. Unfortunately,
now you have.
Unfortunately, I never learned any Swahili in school. I had the misfortune of being taught French, and now French is not recognized here. So let me just speak in a language that I can express myself best in. You want me to do in French? Can't. It has
You should not be misled at all.
At all, yes.
The Honorable
Absolutely.
It has to French will be spoken in the House.
It has to be in this lingua franca known as English. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this very important motion by the Honorable Mary Wamawa. It goes without gainsaying the importance of these documents that we are calling registration documents, the birth certificates, the ID cards, and death certificates to a great extent. These are documents really which matter a lot in life, and therefore it is important that our government does ensure that part of the service delivery as near as possible to the citizens is provision of these documents. My constituency Tharaka is rural and it's also very vast. And we have only one registration center at Marimanti. The second one is coming up in the second sub-county, and I am also trying to get the cue from Honorable Muturi Kigano to do a third one at a place called Chakariga. The net effect is to bring this service closer to the people, but it is vitally important that the government comes in and assists all of us, members of parliament, citizens, in getting these registration centers established and equipped in as near as possible where citizens live. So I would call upon the government to expand and get more registration centers so that our people are better served. Very important are the Huduma centers. And I think that is what Honorable Kigano was referring to when he said that Professor Margaret Kobia has helped him establish a center. I'm also grateful to Professor Margaret because she actually authorized that I do establish a center, Huduma Center, which is going to be a registration center at Marimanti. Although she pleads there are no funds to do this, and we have to do it through CDF, which is a little bit cumbersome. We have to seek authority from Nairobi, but it's an important step towards that development. The government should therefore, without any reservation whatsoever, set aside funds so that we have these Huduma centers set up in every sub-county, in every county, in all the constituencies in the country. The other problem experienced is the fact that the modes of transport, the roads are all poor in the rural areas, and the people have to travel long distances to access these particular centers. Now, it also becomes a problem where children are born outside the hospitals. And again, we need to look into this. How does the government get records to show that children are born away from hospitals and they are eligible for registration to get birth certificates? Here, we have to use the administration, say chiefs or their assistants, or even the area managers who are actually the basic level of administration. In as much as I always plead with the government that area managers should actually be paid, whether stipends, allowances, or whatever, to motivate them to render the services. These are the services that will be very useful if we can have area managers trained to get documentation, basic documentation for purposes of these registration centers. With those remarks, I do support. Let the government get involved. Let's get these centers across the country. Thank you very much.
Very well. The member representing the people of Tharaka. Our members, as you may be aware, that this is a house of procedures. We are on motion number 8. It was a resumption of debate which was interrupted on Thursday, November 5th, 2020. That was the morning sitting. We had a balance of 37 minutes. Members, we have already covered our 37 minutes. And now I do call upon the mover to reply. And the mover is the Honorable Mary Wamaua, MP.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to reply to the motion. And allow me to start with thanking the members for supporting this motion and the recommendation given that are meant to make the issuance of this document simpler. Madam Speaker, there are so many ideas and the points that have been given on how we can improve on this so that our people back in our rural areas or in our constituencies get assisted. And Madam Speaker, among all those that has been brought, it is also compelling me that I also move with the speed, maybe to bring an amendment to the Civil Legislation Act in order to make this more effective. And also, Madam Speaker, to allow an easy access to child information at the civil centers, and these will make our guardians or parents stop making back and forth the trip to looking for relevant documents. Madam Speaker, in general, this is an important document, and I think we as the government, ours is to give services to our people and make sure that whatever they require, they are able to access it. Now that the government has given a policy in education whereby we are using NEMIS and the numbers in the birth certificate are being used. Madam Speaker, there is also the issue of the Huduma number that we are being told can also carry this number. So if also the government will move with the speed to make sure that the issuance of the Huduma number to our children that can also carry the birth certificate is done, I think we shall be doing justice to our people. Madam Speaker, I tend to reply. Thank you.
You move, or you tend to reply. There are members from where I sit. We have no mandate to put the question, and I do order that the question to the establishment of database centers in all civil registration centers in the county be put in the next sitting, as it will be put in a order paper through the House Business Committee. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, provision of assistive devices and required medical items free of charge to persons with disabilities.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move that aware that according to the World Health Organization, an estimated 15% of the world's population live with some form of disability or different ability, with 80% of them living in developing countries, further aware that in Kenya, approximately 6.5 million people live with some form of disability, out of whom nearly 3.8 million are women and girls, while approximately 85% of the total number live in abject poverty. Concerned that a majority of persons with disabilities face numerous challenges, including being denied their fundamental rights and freedoms, including the rights to education and opportunities to work, virtually guaranteeing that they will live their lives in poverty, which often exacerbates their vulnerabilities and dependency on other people, assistive devices and critical medical items and requirements, deeply concerned that lack of these devices, medical items and requirements makes it impossible for persons with disabilities to live normal and dignified lives. This House urges the national government to provide assistive and required medical items and requirements free of charge to persons with disabilities at the constituency levels through government hospitals or any other government body, and to put in place mechanisms for replacement of worn-out devices to enable persons with disabilities live dignified lives, to be more productive, and to coexist with other members in the society. Madam Speaker, Kenya is a signatory to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The UN CRPD, Madam Speaker, basically aims at ensuring that persons with disabilities enjoy their full rights, and that they enjoy these rights, Madam Speaker, in equal measure like those without disability. Madam Speaker, I am honored because I am presenting this motion today and moving this motion, Madam Speaker, just barely a week to the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, which, Madam Speaker, is celebrated every year on the 3rd of December. And, Madam Speaker, the International Day for Persons with Disabilities basically aims at ensuring that government show commitment on the stages and the steps that it has taken to ensure that the lives of persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker, is a life that is worth seeing and emulating, Madam Speaker. And I'm happy, Madam Speaker, that Kenya as a country is a signatory to the UN CRPD. Madam Speaker, in this regard, we also see that as a country of Kenya, Madam Speaker, we have so many treaties that Kenya has ratified. Madam Speaker, some of them are the Sustainable Development Goals. And Madam Speaker, we have seen even our own constitution. The Kenya Constitution, Madam Speaker, of 2010, Madam Speaker, in Article 54, basically recognizes the rights of persons with disabilities. Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities have rights, just like any other right, Madam Speaker. We have rights that need to be protected in this country. Madam Speaker, and there is no way, Madam Speaker, we can talk about these rights and ensuring that our people of Kenya have their rights to live a dignified lives, Madam Speaker, when a section of the population of Kenya, Madam Speaker, cannot live this dignified life. Madam Speaker, there is nothing as most empowering as a person with disability, Madam Speaker, being able to use an assistive device. Madam Speaker, this mere thing you call a wheelchair. What, Madam Speaker, do we call assistive devices in this country? And I want, Madam Speaker, members to understand, assistive devices for persons with disabilities is a game changer. If a person with disability living in Ndubuaini, Madam Speaker, or Turkana, or Isebania, Madam Speaker, is not able to have a mobility device, a wheelchair, Madam Speaker, crutches, Madam Speaker, and then we have what we are calling diapers. For members who do not know, Madam Speaker, we have diapers. Diapers, adult diapers, Madam Speaker. These are assistive devices. Persons who suffer from spinal injury, Madam Speaker, in this country use diapers like children. And those are adults, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities use what we are calling the sunscreens, the lotions, Madam Speaker, for those who are called albinos or who have challenges with their skin. For persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker, who are visually impaired, they use what we are calling a walking aid, Madam Speaker, to move around and to be independent. Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities use drugs. Those ones who have challenges, Madam Speaker, mental health. Every day they have to use drugs in this country, Madam Speaker, before they get into bed to sleep. Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities suffer. They suffer so much, Madam Speaker. The health indicators, Madam Speaker, in this country, if you look at them, they have completely negative impact on persons with disabilities. The indicators are wrong and they are bad. Madam Speaker, this country has tried. We have seen the president so many times talking about empowering persons with disabilities. The other day we talked, Madam Speaker, and you saw yesterday how the process of BBI is trying to cure what persons with disabilities have been looking for in this country in terms of representation. But Madam Speaker, without an assistive device, without a wheelchair, without a white cane, without brailles, Madam Speaker, for you to be able to read, Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities' lives in this country will be lives of abject poverty. Madam Speaker, that cycle repeats itself. And that is why in this country, Madam Speaker, you will realize that persons with disabilities are considered a burden to their families. Because, Madam Speaker, they cannot move to go to work. They cannot move to go anywhere, even to see the city, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other day we had the bus rapid transit system, the BRT, that has been introduced in this country. And Madam Speaker, what we were saying is that there is no point of a person with disability having a wheelchair and this person with disability cannot get into the BRT train to get to the city from Kawangware or from Kayole. Madam Speaker, it is a challenge. And Madam Speaker, I feel passionate about persons with disabilities. I am 5 years, Madam Speaker, now being a disabled person, being a disabled woman, and being a disabled member of parliament, Madam Speaker. And I have seen the challenges, Madam Speaker. Persons with disabilities, they are usually confined in a room with animals, Madam Speaker. I went to the Rakanidhi, and I could see, because persons with disabilities have these consistent and persistent needs, Madam Speaker, they are often put in some cave there with chicken and the goats, so that, Madam Speaker, you're not able to be seen. Madam Speaker, what are we not doing right? Madam Speaker, it is Mahatma Gandhi, Madam Speaker, who said that the true measure of any society is determined by how it treats the most vulnerable persons in their society. And we cannot talk about vulnerable people in this country, Madam Speaker, without talking about persons with disabilities, because they live in our constituencies. They live in our wards and villages. Madam Speaker, that is why when you're talking about disability and talking about Article 100 of this Constitution of Kenya, Madam Speaker, that talks about special interest groups, we cannot only talk about women and talk about youth and exclude persons with disabilities. We belong there, Madam Speaker. And it is a high opportunity and a high chance that members of parliament, Madam Speaker, recognize the important roles that persons with disabilities play in their constituencies, because they live in their constituency. They live in counties. Madam Speaker, I have been to counties in this country. And you realize, Madam Speaker, that you do not even see a governor who knows what disability is all about. Our budgets do not go there. So, Madam Speaker, my own understanding is that disability in this country is expensive. The cost of a wheelchair, Madam Speaker, is expensive. The cost of white cane is expensive, Madam Speaker, and the lotions and everything. Madam Speaker, it is not fair. When I served as a women rep, Madam Speaker, for the county of Migori, I had 150 wheelchairs that I submitted and bought for persons with disabilities. But those are not enough, Madam Speaker. What we want to see, even within our own constituencies, Madam Speaker, is how we can make sure that disability is not expensive for persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker. And that means, Madam Speaker, if the government can ensure that, Madam Speaker, all these devices, all these assistive devices and medical devices, Madam Speaker, can be transported and make sure that even in our own wards and counties and constituencies, Madam Speaker, these assistive devices are actually found there. So that a disabled person, Madam Speaker, whenever a wheelchair breaks down, that disabled person does not have to come to Afia House or Nairobi to repair, Madam Speaker. Those are challenges that persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker, and I beg for 1 more minute, Madam Speaker, because this is a passionate topic, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, persons with disabilities And you have seen that for a long time, disability has been seen as a national function, Madam Speaker. Disability must be devolved because persons with disabilities live in constituencies. And Madam Speaker, the moment we devolve disability...
Just try, your time is over, Honorable Danita Gatti. I can only give you a minute just to move that you're moving the motion. All motions are passionate. Yes, Honorable Anita. That you beg to move? Give Honorable Anita the mic. Because your time is over.
All right, Madam Speaker. What I was simply saying, Madam Speaker...
Just move.
Yes, I want to move, Madam Speaker, and say even NHIF must cover persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker. And having said that, Madam Speaker, I wish to move and request the Honorable David Ole Sankok, nominee 001, to second this motion.
Very well.
I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well, thank you. The Honorable 001, Honorable Ole Sankok for seconding.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this particular opportunity. And let me start by imploring members that this is totally an unpartisan motion that because all of us, including you, Madam Speaker, have persons with disabilities in your constituencies, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, that is why the Honorable Member, Danita Gadi, who is a member of ODM, and I myself, being a member of Jubilee, are together in moving and seconding respectively. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Danita Gati became disabled through a road accident in Narok, Honorable Speaker, when she was already a member of this House. So there is an everlasting possibility of anybody joining this club called disability. That is why we have to put measures in place to make sure that in any case that you are comfortable as a person with disability. Honorable Speaker, when she became a member of my club, that is a disability, she was already a women rep, and she have achieved a lot on that particular wheelchair. She had an ICT center that was in Awendo. She also established a GBV center in Kuria East, still on a wheelchair, Honorable Speaker. There is ability beyond disability, and because she was enabled, she was able to achieve all this, and that is why today we have a motion to try and make sure that we have enabled our members back in our villages so that they can also achieve the way Honorable Danita Gati had achieved. And that is why I implore upon the people of Kuria, to the people of Migori, to consider giving an opportunity elected Honorable Danita Gati in 2022 so that she can complete her journey that she started while she was on a wheelchair. Honorable Speaker, in the 20th century, we still have persons with disability crawling in our streets, crawling, Honorable Speaker, to take their wares to their market, Honorable Speaker, crawling with a bale of mitumba on your head, Honorable Speaker. We still have students, Honorable Speaker, who are crawling on their force into the pit latrine of school toilets, Honorable Speaker. And you know how dirty those pit latrines can be, and still using the same arms that have been soiled to eat food, Honorable Speaker. Their self-esteem is diminished, Honorable Speaker, and when we go to class, it is very difficult for them to be able to capture, or just like any other person, Honorable Speaker. We still have, Honorable Speaker, some persons with disability students crawling in their schools, Honorable Speaker. Now you can imagine, because of lack of 1,500 shillings to buy a crutch, Honorable Speaker, you crawl to school, you crawl under rain, under sun, Honorable Speaker. The first lesson is drying up, Honorable Speaker, before you start understanding what is being taught, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is pathetic, and that is why Honorable Danita decided that we have to provide these assistive devices because they are very essential. You don't buy your legs, let also have person with disability able to move without necessarily paying for them to be able to move because you did not pay for your legs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have cerebral palsy victims, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, these people at the age of 40, 50 use diapers, Honorable Speaker. They need these essential equipment, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, mothers have been divorced simply because they have a child with disability. Honorable Speaker, mothers cannot go for the so-called kibaruas because they are taking care of their cerebral palsy or autistic children, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I can give an example of a boy who is cerebral palsy in my constituency, Honorable Speaker. Then the mother decided to go for kibarua and left the child under the tree, Honorable Speaker. The rabies-affected dogs, stray dogs, came and took away the private parts of that boy, Honorable Speaker. We took him to Kijabe Mission Hospital, Honorable Speaker. I can also speak, and sometimes we are emotional, Honorable Speaker, of the boy, Ben Mbusia, who was detained and locked in a sheep pen for more than 10 years, Honorable Speaker. It was all over the media when I rescued that particular boy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and this boy was weighing 11 kgs at the age of 16, Honorable Speaker. We have to start by weaning him with normal food, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this boy is in Mamangina Children's Home, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we become emotional when we talk about this person with disability. That is why we are requesting this House to pass a bill so that the government, even NHIF, can be able to cover on assisted devices, because if NHIF can be able to cover for diabetes drugs that cost 10,000 per month, what about an assisted device, 1,500, that can assist that person with disability in a whole year, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, every health center can be able to provide these assistive devices because they already know who they have in that particular health center, Honorable Speaker. We thank the President Uhuru Kenyatta for what he have achieved so far in advocating for person with disability rights. Equal access to government procurement opportunity by person with disability, tax exemption.
No, I'm not going to allow this anymore. Honorable Sankok, you should have started by seconding, but just on record, just second. I will not allow this. Just for seconding, yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. We are very emotional. I do second this particular very important motion and ask all members to support us.
Very well, honourable members. Having motion number 9 been moved and seconded procedurally, I move to propose the question, which is that that according to the World Health Organization, an estimated 15% of the world's population live with some form of disability or different ability, with 80% of them living in developing countries. Further, aware that in Kenya, approximately 6.5 million people live with some form of disability, out of whom nearly 3.8 million are women and girls, while approximately 85% of the total number live in abject poverty, concerned that a majority of persons with disabilities, PWDs, face numerous challenges, including being denied their fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right to education and opportunities to work, virtually guaranteeing that they will live their lives in poverty, which often exacerbates the vulnerability and dependency on other people. Assistive devices and critical medical items and requirements, deeply concerned that lack of these devices, medical items, and requirements makes it impossible for PWDs to live normal and dignified lives. This House urges the national government to provide assistive devices and required constituency level required medical items and requirements free of charge to persons with disabilities at the constituency level through government hospitals or any other government body, and to put in place mechanism for replacement of worn-out devices to enable them live a dignified life, be more productive, and to coexist with other people in the society. Members, the first member to speak to motion number 9 by Honorable Danita Gati is a member for Kathiani, the Honorable Bui Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this very important motion to provide assistive devices and required medical items free of charge to people or persons living with disabilities. Madam Speaker, you know, at the beginning I must say that just like the Honorable Sankoka said, all of us are potential candidates to live with disability. And Madam Speaker, I'm saying that because I was a temporary member of that club for a number of months. And I do understand the challenges that actually people living with disabilities go through. And this government, Madam Speaker, supports many sectors. The elderly get a stipend every month when they are above 65 years. Orphans get a stipend every month. And then when it comes to persons with disability, the government says that the ones who get supported are those that are living with severe disability who can do nothing, those who cannot even move. Madam Speaker, that tells me that maybe they don't understand. There is people in the, policy makers who don't understand that even a little form of disability actually completely makes somebody incapable of carrying out very basic responsibilities. Madam Speaker, I did some little research on this, and I realized that Kenya is a signatory to this UN convention, I think. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Article 4, Article 20, and Article 26, says that the states should promote the availability of appropriate devices and mobility aids and provide accessible information about them. And then also the standard rules on the equalization of opportunities for persons with disabilities also calls upon states to support the development, production, distribution, and servicing of assistive devices and equipment and the dissemination of knowledge about them. And Madam Speaker, the reality is that we are in a low-income country. And unfortunately, from the statistics, it says that many of our low-income countries and middle-income countries, only about 5 to 15% of people who require these assistive devices actually get them. So, Madam Speaker, because of this, what happens is that a lot of these people live in abject poverty. Madam Speaker, if you go to the streets of Nairobi, you find that almost all beggars are people living with disability. And in fact, Madam Speaker, not only are they themselves beggars, they have actually got to get an assistant to walk around with them. And there's one gentleman I saw in the streets, and I think he lost one of his legs. Madam Speaker, that gentleman, he's begging in the streets of Nairobi, hopping on one leg. And I thought these are the kind of things that a government needs to deal with. Madam Speaker, let me share my personal experience, because, a lot of times people don't understand how difficult it is. When I was temporarily a member of the people living with disability, Madam Speaker, I realized that, some things you take for granted, you can't do for yourself. Madam Speaker, at that time, I could not even take a bath by myself. I needed to be assisted. Because, Madam Speaker, consider this. One of your legs can completely not be used. So you can't step on the ground and stand upright like I am. So even if you have to put it somewhere, somebody has to help you, either hold you at the back or something. Madam Speaker, it was so difficult. You want to go to take a bath, my wife has to take me and support me, put me on the chair, so I was bathing when I'm seated down. It is so unfortunate. Madam Speaker, when I came back to the house, we went to Mombasa on a trip. First and foremost, of course, even where you sit in the aeroplane, you have to sit where my leg is stretched because I couldn't bend it. But Madam Speaker, the thing that I realized that when you go to serve food, you want to choose the food you will eat. But do you know, Madam Speaker, you cannot be on crutches and also carry a plate. You actually can carry nothing. If you're on crutches, it can only be crutches that you hold with your hands. You can hold nothing else. So, Madam Speaker, to hear that in this country, this day and age, there are people who don't even have the crutches, really it is a shame for the country. So I want to say that I support this, and I want to support Honorable Danita Gatti. Those who do not know, we came with her last parliament, the 11th parliament. This was a very vibrant person. In fact, if Jerusalem challenge was done when Danita Gatti was walking then, you would have seen moves you cannot believe. But today, she's living with disability. So all of us are potential victims. Let the government take this seriously and support all of us.
Indeed, very true. Indeed, it is true that when we joined the parliament in 2013, together with Honorable Danita Gatti, she was working and she was not in a form of disability members. Again, Honorable Boy, thank you for that description of your short-term member of the disabled, and when you also travel. But I must also tell the public and the members that the Parliament of Kenya National Assembly, any person who is disabled, every time they do travel, we always provide for aids. That is part of our policy. And I'm sure, Honorable Mbui, if you travel with your wife or any aid, you are assisted in service of the food. And that's how the Parliament of Kenya, the National Assembly, is taking it so serious, matters concern, or that concern the disabled. Very well. Let me have the member for Seme. No, before the member for Seme, because I know there's a proposed amendment. Let me have the member for Baringo, Honorable Cheruiyot Jasire.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii ambayo umenipa mimi niweze kuchangia mswada huu ambao unaendelea wakati wa sasa kuhusiana na wale watu Mheshimiwa Spika wako na changamoto ya mili zao, jinsi ambavyo wako na ulemavu ambao wanashindwa kutembea, wengine wanashindwa kufanya mambo mengi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kusema kwamba jambo hili ni jambo ambalo linaguza kila mtu, Mheshimiwa Spika, na ni jambo la dhati, jambo ambalo kila mtu anahitaji kuwekea maanani. Na nchi hii tunapopanga kazi zetu na ratiba zetu, kila wakati ni vyema tuwe tukiwakumbuka wale wenzetu ambao wanaishi na ulemavu. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kusema hivi kwa sababu hata tunapoongelea mambo ya ulemavu, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ukweli kwamba huduma za afya nchini humu imekatuliwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwamba kule chini kaunti zetu ni sehemu ambao wao wangeweza kuweka bajeti ya kuhudumia hao watu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na wakati tunaposema BBI itaenda kuweka fedha nyingi za kwenda kaunti zetu, ningependa county assemblies wachukulie jambo hili maanani, manake kule ndiko weza kujua idadi ya wale watu wako kwa ward zao ni wangapi. Walete idadi hiyo ili wapitishe bajeti, kila mtu apate kusaidika kwa njia ambayo Mheshimiwa Spika wanaweza kupata huduma kwa njia ambayo inafaa binadamu. Kwa sababu wakati mwingine, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunawachukua hao watu kana kwamba hawafai. Hata unakuta kwa nyumba zingine wanafichwa. Na hata sisi wengine ambao tuko vile tuko sasa, na vile kila mtu amesema hapa, huu ni mtihani ambao kila mtu anaweza pita kila wakati. Lakini jinsi ambavyo tunapochukua wale watu wako na ulemavu, Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati mwingine si kibinadamu, si njia ambao hata unafurahisha Mwenyezi Mungu. Tunapoongea sasa, hata tukiongelea vifaa ambavyo wanataka kutumia, kuna jambo moja ambalo mimi limenisumbua na nilikuwa najaribu kutatua huko kwetu Baringo, lakini nashangaa kama Kenya nzima hiyo shida iko. Manake ni tukiangalia ambao kaunti zetu, sehemu za biashara, ni sehemu ngapi katika constituency yako ama kaunti yako ambayo iko na vyoo ambayo inafaa walemavu? Manake pia hapa watu wakumbuki. Ukifika katika sehemu za biashara zetu, wale pia wanafanya biashara, lakini hawana sehemu za kutumia msalani ambao unafaa wale watu wako na ulemavu. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, wamama ndio hata wameathirika zaidi kwa hii shida. Kwa sababu wamama wakiwa na watoto ambao hawawezi kutembea, unajua kwamba hiyo ni shida ya mama. Atabaki nyumbani, hataenda shamba, na kwa wakati mwingi utakuta yule mama hata angekuwa mama mchanga hivi utakuta amezeeka kwa sababu ya mawazo. Hana fedha vya kulisha mtoto, hana fedha vya kununua bidhaa ya kusaidia huyu mtoto. Na imekuwa kwamba sisi kama viongozi nchini humu tuweze kuwapa kipaumbele watu ambao wanaishi na ulemavu, ili waweze, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuishi kama sisi wengine. Na tunavyosema kwamba ni leo ni wao. Kama vile Mheshimiwa mwenye amechangia mswada huu, wakati huu umepita tu nikamfuata, amesema kwamba kwa wakati mfupi alikuwa na ulemavu na sasa ako vile ako, lakini bado anaukumbuka kwa ugumu, na anajua kwamba tunahitaji kusaidia wale wako na ulemavu. Mimi ninapenda kuchangia huu mswada. Ninasema mswada huu ni mzuri, umekuja na tutaweza kuchangia kwa njia ambao unafaa. Mimi mwenyewe niko na wao ambao wameleta mswada huu, ninaunga mkono 100% ili tuweze, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa serikali zetu za huku ya ugatuzi na hapa serikali za juu wakae pamoja, waone vile watu wanaoishi na ulemavu wataishi nchini humu. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Jesren. Members, unajua sasa tumeshaweka katika bunge letu la taifa kanuni za kudumu toleo la 5 ambapo members of parliament wanaweza kuongea na Kiswahili, na hata hivyo wabunge wanaweza kuongea na Kiswahili, na hata hivyo kwa Kiswahili tuko na tafsiri ya kwanza 2019, ile kwa kimombo wanaita the standing orders, the 5th edition. Sasa kila mbunge katika National Assembly tuko na toleo letu, na kila mbunge ako na kanuni za kudumu, the standing orders. So the public must understand that in Parliament, of course it was launched the other day by the President, that we have our standing orders, that is the 5th edition in Kiswahili form. Wale wajapata ningesema mupate ndio tuweze kuongea Kiswahili hata kama Kiswahili ni mtihani. Very well, let me have the member for Vihiga, the Honorable Adalaga Kai. Let me have the member for Vihiga County. Give her the mic.
Madam Speaker.
No. We are having the member for...
Kuna kitu nataka kusema jambo, Madam Speaker. Kama ni nidhamu kwa hii nyumba, kwamba wakati ulikuwa unazungumza, Mheshimiwa Sankok alikuwa anakurecord video. Kwa hivyo tunataka kujua kama ni sheria ama inakubaliwa.
Kama ni kanuni?
Kama ni kanuni. Manake mimi naona hiyo sio jambo mzuri, manake alikuwa anakurecord. Na tueleze kwa nia gani alikuwa anakuchukua video.
Sasa Mheshimiwa, kuna makosa gani? Taja makosa ya Mheshimiwa.
Kama ni makosa ama inakubaliwa, manake si vizuri yeye kukuchukua wewe haswa. Atueleza kwa nia gani na wewe.
Nafurahi sana kwa sababu hata waheshimiwa wameanza kuongea Kiswahili kufuatia kanuni za kudumu toleo la 5. But wacha nisikie 001. Sija kuona kama speaker, lakini unaweza sema.
Asante sana Bi Speaker. Unajua kama wewe uko mrembo na nikiona picha nikichukua, lakini mimi sikuwa na record anybody. Mimi si
Order, honorable members. Order. This is a house of debates. Order. Honorable members, as I did give orders, that when you raise on a point of order, please try to refer to the standing order. Kwa wale wanaongea Kiswahili, tumia kanuni za kudumu toleo la 5. That is bunge la taifa, kanuni za kudumu. Asante. So, honorable members, I want to assume that you are just, but he's still, Honorable Sankok is in order. The rest you can share outside the chamber. Honorable Sangok na Mheshimiwa kutoka Mheshimiwa Gedi. Very well. Let me have the member for Vihiga County.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nafasi hii niseme jambo kuhusu mjadala ambao uko kuhusu watu wetu ambao wanaishi na ulemavu. Nimemsikiza Madam Gati, Mheshimiwa Gati vile ameongea pamoja na Mheshimiwa Sankok. Kusema ukweli, iko shida mingi kwa wale watu ambao wanaishi na ulemavu. Wengi wao kupata vifaa ambazo zinaweza saidia au kutembea kama mikongojo, wheelchair na mambo mingi hakuna. Ni huzuni, na unakuta watu wengi wanachukua hawa walemavu, wanawekwa, wanafichwa. Nimesikia moyoni mwangu huzuni mwingi sana kusikia kwamba kuna mahali walienda wakakuta mlemavu amefungwa kama mbuzi kwa zizi la ng'ombe. Na hilo jambo halitakikani kukua. Mlemavu ni mtu kama mwingine. Wanatakikana walindwe kisheria. Wanatakikana wapate haki zao. Kwa hivyo hii jambo ya walemavu sio kitu ya kuchukuliwa na mzaa. Inatakikana ichukuliwe na haraka ambao unatakikana kuona ya kwamba majukumu zao ama mahitaji yao inachukuliwa kama Mkenya mwingine. Madam Speaker, ukiangalia kweli, kusema ukweli, kuna wengine tena ambao tangu wazaliwe hawajawahi tembea na wako karibu 50-60 years na wanafaa wapewe ile vifaa vinaitwa bumpers. Na hizo bumpers, kusema ukweli, kuna wamama kule vijijini sana huko kwangu, kuna wamama hawawezi kujiweza kununua hizo bumpers, na hiyo ni lazima. So unakuta most of wale watu walemavu wamejifunga, wamekaa, zile zinaitwa hizi vidonda za kwa kitanda zimewakula na wako tu pale. Sasa wanahitaji, Madam Speaker, wasaidiwe. Wanahitaji usaidizi unaofaa, serikali kuhudumia wale ndugu zetu na baba zetu ambao ni walemavu katika hii nchi. Na nimeona dada yangu Mheshimiwa Gati ameongea kwa upendo. Nimeona yeye, tumetembea na yeye kwa mikutano mingi. Naona mama anatetea walemavu. Na ukiangalia hakuna yule mtu ambaye angependa kukuwa na mlemavu ama nini. Huyu ni kiumbe ama ni mtu ambaye Mungu aliumba kama wengine. Wanafaa wapewe mahitaji yao vile wanahitaji. Ukiangalia kuna wengine hawa zeru, they need to have mafuta ya kujipaka ndio jua isiwachome sana ngozi yao, na tena wanahitaji miwani kwa wingi. Madam Speaker, sasa nangesi serikali tuangalie, tuone mahitaji ya hawa wa ndugu zetu na dada zetu na baba zetu wanalindwa katika hii nchi yetu ya Kenya. Madam Speaker, na ifanyike haraka, tuone ya kwamba hiyo inashughulikiwa vilivyo na wale walemavu wote katika hii nchi wanashughulikiwa. Sana nikiongea namna hivi, tumejaribu kununua wheelchairs na hazitoshi. Unajaribu vilivyo kutokana kwa mfuko wako, hazitoshi. Kuna watu kama ukienda kwa function unaona mzee ama mama anakuja akicrawl chini. Hao watu wanahitaji waishe maisha inafaa katika hii nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo Madam Speaker, ningependa kusupport na niseme walemavu wapewe nafasi kimasomo, kibiashara kimaisha, waishi kama Wakenya in a dignified manner. Asante sana, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Understand the special funds zinaitwa kwa Kiswahili chupi za dharura. Let me have the member representing the people of Isiolo North. The Honorable will look for order.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I stand to support this motion, and I thank the member, Honorable Danita, for bringing this motion. Madam Speaker, I also happen to have lived with disability temporarily for close to half a year as a result of a banditry attack. So I fully appreciate the extent to which assistive devices can make a difference when you are in such a situation. Unlike Honorable Mbui, it happened to me when I was single. I was not married. I had no partner to support me with some basic personal issues, and it was really challenging. And Madam Speaker, actually, if we look at our Constitution, Article 54, it addresses rights of persons living with disability. We are required to treat them with dignity and respect. There is also a requirement that they be facilitated to access education and other facilities. Unfortunately, as a result of, these assistive devices not being easily accessible to persons, especially children who are living with disabilities across the country, many of them are not able, many of children living with disability are not able to access basic rights like basic education, especially in region like the one I represent, the ASAL, because Isiolo North is a very expansive constituency, and it's also ASAL. And most of the times, when children are born with disabilities, they are actually hidden from the public. They are seen to be some form of curse. But the few who have been able to access support, mostly through religious agencies, have proven themselves. And they have also proven that disability is not inability. They have actually proven that they are enabled differently. And that is why I support this particular motion. In my own culture, our people normally say that you can escape at birth. You can escape disability which is congenital. But any person is not sure whether he can continue living as an able-bodied person. At any time, accident can happen, and through accidents, many of individuals who are born as able-bodied have ended up being disabled. And for that reason, even those of us probably who at the moment may not need these assistive devices, we need to be very cautious. And also as people's representatives, we know that a huge population of our country, close to 6.5 million Kenyans, are living with one form of disability or another. And these people need different types of assistive devices. And it is quite in order, and it's also in line with our current constitution, and I'm sure it has also been enhanced through BBI proposals, that the government be called upon to provide these assistive devices at the lowest administrative unit possible. In some areas, actually, if we talk of availing them at constituency level, and I look at a constituency like North Hor, or a constituency which is 38,000 square kilometers, if you avail it at sub-county headquarters, it becomes a challenge. Even in my own constituency, I have 2 sub-counties. A constituency which is close to 15,000 square kilometers, probably availing it at sub-county may not enable all the people who are needing these devices to easily access them. So probably we need to look at how best, looking at the different challenges in different parts of, in different constituencies, which is the lowest administrative unit which is appropriate for different parts of this country, and these assistive devices be availed so that our Kenyan citizens who are living with disabilities are enabled to get these assistive devices so that they can enjoy their basic rights and we can facilitate their integration, proper integration into Kenyan society. Thank you, and I support.
Very well. Other members, before we move on the motion number 9, that is order number 9 on the motion of provision of assistive devices and required medical items free of charge to persons with disabilities, as moved very well by the Honorable Danita Gatti. We have a proposed amendment to the motion by the Honorable Enyukal James, MP. And so, as a matter of procedure, we have to call upon the Honorable Enyukal to move his proposed amendment to the motion. Honorable Enyukal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make the amendment for this motion, which I support with all my heart. And the amendment that I propose is that the motion be amended by a deletion of the word urges appearing immediately after the phrase this house appearing in line 14 and replace it with the words resolves that. B, deletion of the word to appearing immediately before the phrase provides and assistive devices appearing in line 14 and replace it with words through a planned progressive program, and C, deletion of the word provide appearing immediately before the word assistive devices appearing in line 14 and replace it with the word provides. What it will therefore read as follows, Madam Speaker. This House resolves that the national government, through a progressive program, a planned progressive program, provides assistive devices and medical items and requirements free of charge to persons with disabilities at the constituency level through government hospitals or any other government body, and to put in place mechanisms for replacement of worn-out devices to enable them live a dignified life, be more productive, and to coexist with other people in the society. Madam Speaker, the essence of these amendments are, 1, we are deleting the word urges and replacing it with the word resolves. Whenever we say urges, that is the end of it. The discussion doesn't produce any results unless the member goes ahead and brings a bill. However, if we say that this House resolves, and the action that we have resolved on is action that is practical, it will then be actually acted upon. And perhaps in the next budget, you could even get funds to implement the resolution of the House. The next essence of this amendment, I've said, through a planned progressive program, provide assistive devices. I know from my experience that what government will do, if you come with, say, everybody is going to get assistive devices, and you say it should be done immediately without any program, their first reaction is that we do not have enough money. As Honorable Danita eloquently put it, assistive devices are very many, starting with wheelchairs, for example. You have crutches, you have calipers, you have prosthetic limbs, you have hearing aids, you have sunscreen that we do provide for people with albinism, or lip care for people with albinism. You have walking aids, you have braille, you have even talking computers, as high as motorized wheelchairs. Now, if you then just say we're resolving that they provide all those, the fear of the permanent secretary and the treasury will be, can we have enough money if people with disability decide that all of them need motorized wheelchairs? The advantage of saying planned program and progressive is that then they find it easy to say, for example, in the first year, we will provide crutches free, or we'll provide calipers free, or prosthetic limbs free, or hearing aids free. And then the next year, we can say now we can move on and provide wheelchairs, so that as the time goes by, it is easier to implement. And I know from my experience, the executive normally doesn't have a problem with that. They actually welcome it. And what then the mover or somebody would have to do, or the implementation committee, is actually sit with the executive and actually work out a program of implementing. That is the essence of my amendment, Madam Speaker. I therefore move the amendments.
Who is your seconder? There's nothing out of order till it becomes an asset of the House. Yes, you'd raise it at a particular. No, honorable. Honorable member, I know you have a. We can.
Therefore, I ask.
Yes, after it becomes an asset of the House, then I will have the Honorable Makali Mulu to raise his point of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I wish to take the opportunity to second the amendment as proposed by the Honorable Dr. Nyikal. Madam Speaker, this is merely helping to ensure that whatever is passed by the House can be enforced. You know, it's just to ensure that enforcement takes place, that whatever the House has resolved, you know, out of this motion is implemented. It's just to make it enforceable, Madam Speaker. Secondly, taking into account what we know as a House and as a country, that there will need to be planning for implementation of some activity of this requirement whose cost may be enormous. And therefore, just to be reasonable, allow that the planning takes place, and that even if a resolution has been passed for implementation, it is made gradual to allow the planning and implementation be easy, but at the end of the day, fulfill what we want to do and realize the goal. Madam Speaker, otherwise, the motion is important. As it's always said, a disability is not inability. And because of this, we have to facilitate and help people living with disability also to lead a normal life, to enjoy, to be part of the communities as is expected, Madam Speaker. I therefore wish to second the amendment by the Honorable Dr. Nyikal.
You wish to second? Very well. All members, allow me to propose the question to the amendment of the motion by the Honorable James Nyikal, MP, which is that the motion be amended by a deletion of the word urges appearing in the middle of the phrase "this house," appearing in line 14, and replace it with the words "resolves that." B, deletion of the word "to," appearing immediately before the phrase "provides assistive devices," appearing in line 14, and replace it with the words "through a planned progressive program." And C, members, deletion of the word "provide," appearing immediately before the phrase "assistive devices," appearing in line 14, and replace it with the word "provides." Members, as I want to give it to the Honorable Makali Mulu, it is as a matter of procedure that before any motion and bill becomes an asset of the House, that is after procedure moving, seconding, and proposing, then we are not able to raise issues before. But now this is the motion that is before the House procedurally, And it is a asset of the House that now we can give members to debate on it. Of course, serving my second term in the Parliament, I'm aware of the difference between urges and the word resolved that. So, and I'm sure which it really makes a lot of difference as far as our Parliament is concerned. Let me give the Honorable Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, you know I have a lot of respect for Dr. Nyikal, but the matter I wanted to raise is a matter which is procedural and it also touches on the Constitution. Once we replace those two words, urges with resolve, resolve becomes a commitment, and resources will be required. The Constitution is very clear. Where a bill or a motion touches on additional resources, it becomes a money bill or a money motion. And there's a procedurally, it needs to go through a process before it is debated. So by that change, then I'm wondering whether that's a clarification I wanted him to make as he was going on. I'm wondering whether then it will be right to debate it without going the required procedure. That's the clarification I wanted, Honorable Speaker. And I'm sure you will agree with me that, as you said, there's a big difference between urge and resolve. But I support what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But procedurally, there could be some witches.
Very well. Indeed, it is true. And as I said before, that is a difference between urges. When we are urging in a motion, the implication, the import of it, and the difference also between resolving as far as a motion is concerned. But now that this would not have been decided before the motion was brought to the House, we will be also calling upon the members maybe to contribute on this before we, as a speaker of the class, make an official communication. As I said, we must have it as an asset, and then now we can debate on the constitutionality of the matter as far as the budget is concerned, or whether to pass it. Let me give the first member, the Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to really appreciate the input by Dr. Nyikal to amend the motion. However, in line with what Honorable Makali Mulo has said, touching on Article 114, when you read the motion down further upon amending, it's going to touch on the distribution line, Honorable Speaker, meaning the way to supply the devices shall be enforced through the hospitals. And remember, medical is a devolved function, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, this House insists of a court case, which is ongoing between the Senate and the National Assembly, which you have appealed, and it has given some restrictions. Meaning, Honorable Speaker, this becomes another issue if we now tie down in terms of making a resolution. Therefore, whereas the amendments are good, but they are being proposed in a manner which is likely to put us in a more difficult corner than where we are today. Therefore, urging might be okay, but once we resolve, Madam Speaker, it changes the whole issue and it puts the House in a conflicting situation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Let me give the other member, any member to, and of course we are touching on this, you can debate on any, or even as Honorable Makali addressed, as I said, I will give a communication from my desk. The member for Taveta, the Honorable Shaban Namsi, Commissioner.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii, pia nami niweze kuchangia swala hili la kurekebisha mswada huu ambao umeletwa na Mheshimiwa Danita Gati. Kwanza ni muhimu kuwa tufahamu kuwa binadamu haishi kuumbika.
An honorable member, our commissioner, the mother of the house. In fact, honorable members, that is a lady who has served more times in terms of ladies in this house. we are debating on the proposed amendment.
Yes,
Yeah, the
yes,
amendment.
yes, I'm getting there.
By Honorable Nyikala.
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
thank you.
Ndio nimeanza Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kutaja kuwa aliyeleta mswada huu amefanya jambo la muhimu sana, lakini vile vile nikitaka kuunga mkono Mheshimiwa James Nyikal, daktari ambaye tuliweza kufanya kazi pamoja na kufanya na walemavu hapa nchini. Mheshimiwa Spika, sina aibu ya kusema kuwa alikuwa katibu wangu wa kudumu na alipigania swala la walemavu vilivyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukweli ni kwamba walemavu hapa nchini wanateseka. Na katika hali ya mateso yale, kuna umuhimu wa sisi kujua kipengele cha 27 cha katiba yetu ya Kenya. Kinasema tusibaguane. Tusibague mtu akiwa ni mlemavu kupitia masuala ya ulemavu ama dini ama kabila ama rangi. Hayo yote yametajwa kwenye katiba yetu ya Kenya. Hivyo basi, ninakubaliana na kuunga mkono kuwa kuna umuhimu wa sisi kufanya uamuzi ambao utaweza kutekelezwa na serikali kuu ya hapa nchini. Ni kweli ya kwamba uamuzi wa chochote kile ambacho kinagusia pesa, hali ya fedha ambazo zinatakana kutumika kutoka kwa serikali kuu, kuna umuhimu wa kukumbuka kuwa sheria ya katiba hii pia inatueleza kuwa jambo lolote kuhusu fedha ni lazima lipitie mikakati fulani. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, tujue kuwa walemavu ni wenzetu hapa nchini na wana haki ya kupata usaidizi kwenye viti vya magurudumu, kupata usaidizi kwenye mikongojo, kupata usaidizi kwenye bakora wanazozitumia, kupata usaidizi kwenye vifaa vya kuweza kusikia wanavyopatiwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, wao pia ni watoto wetu, wao ni wenzetu, wanalipa kama vile wengine wanavyolipa ushuru hapa nchini. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, tuna haki ya kufanya uamuzi kuwa serikali kuu ni lazima ilinde na kuwapatia vifaa hivyo ambavyo vitawezesha. Mheshimiwa Spika, namuunga mkono Daktari James Nyikal kwa kuleta hilo pendekezo, japokuwa ile mikakati ingewezekana iweze kufuatwa ili swala hili tulipitishe moja kwa moja, tuweze kuhakikisha kwa ndugu zetu wanaoishi na ulemavu wanaweza kupata usaidizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono.
Very well. Let me have the member for Mbondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Me, I want to, my rising to support what Nyikal has brought out, in as much as I understand exactly the sentiments of Dr. Makali. Number one, what Nyikal has brought around is something that is with us here always, that when we are urging, we are doing stories. We are not coming up with certain things that are implementable. But here we have an issue that we need to have implemented. That is supporting resolving. But the next thing in terms of the money bit of it, I think this is where there is a small misunderstanding. Nyikal is asking for a program, a planned program. He's not saying that we want this from next week, such that now the government starts giving free devices. No. The thing is, the amendment is talking about a planned program. So in the government will be planning that kind of a program, and we'll be looking at it in terms of the kind of resources that they will be having from time to time. A planned program can go for years. But as of now, the amendment is asking, can we have a planned program where this can be provided? Madam Speaker, I'm trying to say this. The government collects constantly data on the disability. There is data that was required when we were doing this Huduma number. It was a very outstanding question. Last week or one, there's been an exercise going on in the country of registering people with disability. What are these things for? In my view, coming up with these numbers lets the government get to know what is it and what their needs are. And based on that, the government must come up with a planned program of how to implement the kind of needs that are isolated from time to time. And I think that's exactly where Dr. Nyikal is coming in from. And if you look at it in that direction, it doesn't need any monies as at now. It needs an administrative arrangement where the government comes up with a program where, after a period of time, even on an annual basis, they'll be asking the budget committee, for example, for resources but in a manner that is planned and programmed. Thanks, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Let me get from the Honorable Member for Kadui on the issues, and I'd like to listen to members on the issues raised before I make a determination. No, we are on the, is making a clarification. Is a point of order. What is out of order, Honorable?
Yeah, I mean, Honorable Speaker, members are missing the point. Those who are opposing this amendment are missing the point, and we must clarify it.
I just want a point of information. It's not a point of order.
Madam
To the House,
Speaker,
which I allow you.
is it in order for the Honorable Chief Whip to stand here and state where it is very clearly provided that there is expected an administrative program to plan, and specifically, gradually, provide for actions, things to be done, including budget, including what should, and then he says this is out of order, madam. Is in order.
Honorable Member for Kadui, both of you, I don't want to raise a lot of debate on this, other members, because I know the members are debating. And members, I know you are aware of the procedures of the House, whether it's a point of information, a point of order. I know members, as we are debating on the amendment, before I make my determination, and most of it is to the effect of what Honorable Makali Mulu addressed. But I'd order that we debate on this before I make a decision. Honorable Makali Mulu, yes, you are on a point of order. You'll still get your time when your time comes to debate on the same. But I will still at one point make a decision on what issue that was raised by Honorable Makali Mulu. It's not a house of reply. Honorable, what is leader minority whip? What is now the honorable member stated to be out of order.
Thank you, Madam.
Are you in order?
Madam Speaker, English is a borrowed language. And the journey that English took to arrive to Kenya could be defined that it first came to Luo Nyanza. And now that it got to Western, maybe it was diluted by then. And when you come from Luo Nyanza, Madam Speaker, you hit my constituency before you hit where the new Fort Kenya leader comes from. Therefore, Madam Speaker, my take is this, that this is a debate, is a view.
No, you already debated. Don't debate. Maybe if you are just replying to the honorable member.
Therefore, it's good that he has informed.
Yes.
Let now members make a decision on that, Madam Speaker.
So you're saying members make a decision. Very
you,
well. It's very good, and I think that's why the minority, the majority whip that English is admitting that is English, and the member for both of them. I don't know who missed the point, but as a leader. As a speaker, that is well taken care of. Let me have the member for, before I make a decision on the same, because what has been raised by the Honorable Makali is very important. And Honorable Makali, before you debate, I think it's important for me to make a decision on this. Yes, the member for Tharaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the arguments advanced by Dr. Nyikal.
And I'm not a Mr. Speaker. And as I said, of course, I belong to...
Apologize, absolutely.
Men gave birth to us and they married us.
No, you shouldn't.
Madam.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Absolutely, I apologize for that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the amendments proposed by Honorable Nyikal are weighty. And it's trying to make sure that what we do here is not done in vain. But unfortunately, there is a procedure, especially where the House is making resolutions, which resolutions have to go to the executive for implementation. I have tried this before, and I have been advised, which advice I've taken to be true, that where the House resolves and the executive will have to spend money on it, there are budgetary implications involved, and therefore the motion has to go first to the budget committee, where it is deliberated on before the House Business Committee and the Budget Committee, and as such, it has to be approved so that the resolutions can be made by the House. And this is the handicap we have here, that if we pass the proposed amendments, whichever way, whether it is planning, it is executing, there is budgetary connotations that are involved in this, and therefore the motion may have actually to be withdrawn from the House back to the Business Committee, where it may be referred to the Budget Committee before it is brought back.
Very well.
So we will have to take a decision on that.
Very well. Honourable members, having listened to the members, of course, on debate on the proposed amendment by the Honourable James Nyukal, having also listened to the issues raised by the Honourable Makali Mulu, pursuant and guided by our own standing orders, the research, and the Speaker. That is where I am. Honourable members, indeed it is true that as far as our motions are concerned, there is a difference between when we are moving a motion in terms of urging and resolving in terms of budget and money implication. And that is where the Honourable Makali is coming from, with another member that would have spoken to it. However, when a motion is brought before the House, and a motion either moving or for amendment, the House takes the motion in whole. And for this matter, we have a proposed amendment to motion by Honourable Danita, by Honourable Nyikal, that has 3 proposed amendments. That is A, B, and C. And for the clearance of doubts, that is in our proposed amendment in A, the Honourable Nyikal is proposing that we delete the word urges, which is appearing after the phrase "this House," appearing in your motions, and members, which you have it in your order paper, in line 14, and replacing with the word resolves. Of course, that has a money implication. Then B, which is a part of the motion, the Honourable Nyikal is proposing a deletion of the word "to," which is appearing immediately before the phrase "provides assistive devices." Remember, this is appearing in line 14, and his proposal is to replace it with the words, and I want you to note, members, "through a planned progressive program." Through a planned progressive program. Then the C, which is part of the amendment, proposed amendment, it is proposing the deletion of the word "provide," which is appearing before the phrase "assistive devices," appearing in line 14, and is replacing it with "provides." Notwithstanding, the interest we have now is in the proposed amendment A and B, and that is the issue that had been raised by the Honourable Makali Mulu. And I want to rule that this motion is in order. It is being protected by the amendment B. And it should also be taken note of that this, we are looking for planned progressive program. And I'm sure the mover also guided through a planned progressive program. However, if in the proposed amendment we did not have they indicate, or the proposed amendment to the fact that the Honorable Nyikali's proposed amendment through a planned progressing program, Honorable Makali, it have been very correct, because it would have brought a constitution issue. Members, you may be aware that most of the motions that we bring into the House, and we urge, as the substance speaker keeps on saying, urging is urging. Namako is right. Resolving is resolving. It has a money or budget implication. But for this matter, the Honourable Member is substituting the urging to resolving, but not on any planned or budgeted funds. This is progressive. In future, in the next budget, which Honorable Makali, is an economist, a daktari, and is a member of the budget committee, who is aware and very much aware of the procedures of the House and issues that touch on budget. So with this import, and I want to be on record with this import, that the amendment proposed is through a planned progressive program, has not committed the program to this or any budget of this the financial year. It has to be followed, and that's why I'm sure the Dr. Nyikal Honorable was so sure to use the word planned progressive program. And you know this parliament has a lot of clerks, lawyers, experts. And so with that guidance, I ruled that the motion is in order, protected by the world through a planned progressive program, and also informing the members on the difference between urging and resolving, as it was very well cited by the Honorable Makali Mulu. Those who served in the last parliament, like myself, this parliament, the Honorable Commissioner, Honorable Member for Taveta served 5 years, 5 terms, 4 terms. So that there's a great difference, and I'm sure even when our motions have been put, the difference is accepted and must go through the process of the offices. So members, let me give, I can hear the members saying we put the question. Let me have the Honorable Makali Mulu for debating on the proposed amendment.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to make it clear that my question was on procedure, and I don't think up to now anybody has opposed to the amendments. The amendments are adding value to the current motion, in that they are discussing issues of implementation. Other than just urging and where we pass the motion and it remains without being implemented, I think what Honorable Nyikal was doing was to assist the move of this motion so that we have an action plan, so that after even passing the motion, people can follow up. And I do respect your guidance, Honorable Speaker, in terms of whether it has implication money or not. So for now, I would say I'm supporting the amendments because I think it's good that we're able to implement a program other than just saying we urge and then we talk, and after that we are no longer following up. So I think what will happen, Honorable Chair, is that after this amendment now, we'll be able to have this motion once passed by the House. We can actually have our committee on implementation following up to make sure that we have that planned progressive program to implement it. And I think it's going to be very important to this country. Honorable Speaker, I'm sure we all represent people with disability in our constituencies. I don't think any member here can claim to have no people with disability in our constituencies. And as it has been said, disability is not inability. These people have a lot of potential. They have talents which can be exploited if they were fully supported. I think what they are requesting is just facilitative environment, so that, like I do, when they are able to get an opportunity, they are facilitated to exploit that opportunity. And I think, Honorable Speaker, all of us who have served during the 11th Parliament, when we joined this parliament, the 11th Parliament, we had our colleague, Honorable Danita Ngadi. I can tell you for sure, Honorable Speaker, very few members of Parliament at that time would fail to admire Danita Ngadi. In terms of her contribution in this House, how she was running up and down everywhere, pushing for the agenda of Mingori people who had elected her by that time. And to me, even up to now, Honorable Speaker, we sit in the Common of the Parliamentary Association with Danita Ngadi, and I can tell you for sure, the same agenda she's pushing in this House today on disability, she's pushing it hard in the Common of the Parliamentary Association to have a chapter on disability. So to me, this is a motion which I would really want to see implemented. And the amendment by Honorable Nyikal is trying to do that. So I support, and I would urge members to support this amendment so that this motion becomes implementable.
Very well, the member for Kitui Central, and we always appreciate your understanding of the budgets. We call you Dr. Mulu. The honorable members for Seme, you cannot speak twice to a motion. I see your, yes. Yes, you cannot. So you are trying to raise your intervention, and we have already ruled on the matter, of course, which is to your advantage. Let me have the member for Oljol Rock, the Honorable Muchira Mwangi. And members, we are debating on the proposed amendment by the Honorable James Nyikal, not on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well guided toward, I intended to contribute to the main motion by Honorable Danita Ngadi. Can I proceed? With
No, you cannot. You cannot contribute to the main motion, because as a matter of procedure, we must prosecute the proposed amendment. Of course, the amendment is still to the motion, the proposed amendment by the Honorable James Nyikal. And then now, when it is taken, we will be able to debate the motion either as it is amended or either as it is originally. Let me have the members, you are aware of the position. Ojiambo, Funyula. Honorable Oundo Ojiambo, member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to second or support the amendment brought by Honorable Dr. Nyikal. Indeed, the substantive wording of urging and resolving has been an area that has been a bit of a gray area in this House. Indeed, if you urge, it simply means you are just talking. You are just making a statement to entertain yourself and do the rest of other things. But if we say we are resolving, because this is the National Assembly, this is Parliament, whatever we resolve, the national government is compelled by the Constitution and the law to implement. Whichever way they want to implement it, however long it takes to implement it, but must be implemented. That's why on that score, I support the amendments proposed by Honorable Nyikal in respect of the motion moved by Honorable Danita Ngadi. I hope, Honorable Speaker, I'll be given an opportunity at the most opportune moment to contribute substantively to the amended motion when it is listed next. With those few remarks, I propose or I support Dr. Nyikal's amendments.
Honorable Danita, this is your motion. You can't say you put the question, but of course, yes, honorable members, yes. We must follow procedures for me to be able to put the question. members, on the amendment, you know, the requisite numbers that we need. I'm not saying we do not have the numbers, but from where I sit, I really think it will be an abuse of the debate. Let me have the member for Lekoni. Boko Hamisi. Boko Hamisi. And members, maybe for your information, even if you want to contribute to the main motion, you will still have a chance even if you contribute to the proposed amendment. It will not deny you the chance to contribute to the motion as amended or as it was proposed by the Honorable Danita. Yes.
Asante Bi Speaker. Hata mimi nataka kuunga mkono mabadiliko ama marekebisho kidogo ambayo Mheshimiwa Daktari Nyikal amezungumzia katika hoja hii. Kwa sababu kwa wakati mwingi sana tunatoa hoja pasi na kuwa na mipangilio. Kwa sababu sisi kama bunge hatuzungumzi tu na jambo lile libakie hapa katika chemba ya bunge. Tunazungumza na tunataka tuweke mikakati ya kuonyesha ya kwamba mapendekezo ambayo tumeyaweka yanaweza kutekelezwa. Na je, yatatekelezwa kwa njia gani ya mwafaka? Kwa hivyo Daktari Nyikal amezungumzia ile michakato ama zile njia haswa maksus ambazo zitatumika kuhakikisha ya kwamba hoja hii imeweza kutekelezwa na vile vitengo vya kiserikali ambavyo ni husika vinaweza kutengeza zile program.
Honorable Mishi, I know it's like we don't want to call it a disability by putting this masks on, but because of this time, please members, let us put on the. I can see no member is near you, but let's not assume. I'm also constrained from where I sit. Members, let us wear our mask on. Yes, Honorable Mishi. Honorable Boko, give her the mic.
What's a mic?
Yes.
Kama niliunga mkono marekebisho ama mabadiliko machache ambayo Daktari Nyikal ameweza kuyaleta katika hoja hii kwa sababu ni muhimu sana. Lazima tuweke mikakati ambayo itaweza kuwezesha mapendekezo ambayo tumeyazungumzia yaweze kutekelezwa. Hivyo basi lazima tuonyeshe njia ya ile mikakati ambayo itafanyika ili mapendekezo haya yetu yaweze kuchukuliwa kwa umuhimu sana na kuweza kuweka zile program maksus ya kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba mambo haya yamefanyika. Na mimi naunga mkono.
There's a point of order by the Honorable Member for Ungunya. You are on an intervention? After? Just give it to be on record. You know, here we assume when you're not on record, we are shouting. Yes?
Actually, I just put intervention to try to understand how long we are going to deliberate on this.
Yes.
Because that's got very serious issues that we need to actually canvass.
Very well. I'll guide.
I'm sorry I came in a bit late.
I'll guide accordingly.
Yes.
Honorable Pio Chairman, Public Accounts Committee. I will guide it before I... Yes, Honorable Mishi, you...
Hai, Bi Speaker, mimi nafikiri namalizia tu nikisema naunga mkono iwapo hoja hii itaweza kuwa na marekebisho hayo ya Daktari Nyikal, itakuwa ni hoja ambayo itaweza kutimizwa kulingana na yale malengo haswa ya hoja hiyo. Na pia tunajua wakati tunazungumzia hoja lazima tujue tutatumia lugha aina gani, lugha ambayo itawezesha kutekelezwa kwa hoja ama yale mapendekezo ambayo tumewazungumzia. Moja kwa moja naunga mkono iwe hoja hii itaweza kuzungumziwa kupitia mapendekezo ya Daktari Nyikal.
Very well. Order members. Order members. All of us, indeed, this being a house of procedures, and the time now being 1 p.m. All members, we will have a balance of 1 hour and 2 minutes to be debate on the motion by Honorable Danita Gatti. However, we will be compelled, as a matter of procedure, first to dispense the proposed amendment by Honorable Nyikal, and then after dispensing the proposed amendment, either it is taken or negated, then we will be able to debate the motion by Honorable Danita as amended, if it is taken, or as it was proposed, if it is negated. Members, the time being 13:01, the House stands adjourned till today, Thursday, day 26 November 2020 at 2:30 p.m. I thank you all.